From the TFNB, your Bank for Life studio. Now, it's time for the SMOAK Show. Presented by IdealMRI.com. Premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable. That's ideal. And by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. It's time for the SMOAK Show on 365 Sports with David Smoke and Craig Smoke.
Here we are on the SMOAK Show. David Smoke, Craig Smoke, 365 Sports. We appreciate your time today on the eve of the NFL Draft, which of course starts tomorrow, runs through Saturday, and then after that there's a hell breaks loose when it comes to a lot of the undrafted players that are picked up by the 32 teams in the NFL. Craig Smoke, David Smoke, we do appreciate your time. So, Craig, the college football playoff has been at 12. There's a push to try to get it to 16 or 24, or is it going to stay the same? This was an article by Ralph Rousseau and Stuart Mandel back in November of this year, and the article basically was, if you think that the Big Ten is the only one who's really like looking at the idea of a 24-team playoff, it's just a crazy Big Ten plan. Going to die on the hill with that? No, you are wrong, because now the momentum has changed, and it was always apparently kind of there because of what Ross Dellinger reported yesterday evening, among others as well. In response to the report about the House settlement and more, the White House committee is suddenly taking an interest in college football's playoff and believes the postseason should expand to 24 teams. Meetings this week in Dallas, they weren't expected for anything to be approved, but there are discussions of it moving to 24.
Yes, there is. And what's up, everybody? What's up, chat? Appreciate you being with us as usual, and hope you're having a good one. But yeah, here we are, and it's been kind of quiet as far as the playoff discussion. In the offseason, we've been preoccupied by spring ball and the transfer portal prior to that, and now a little bit of other sports have crept in and taken some of the attention along the way. But we are about to hit that peak where I was expecting we're going to hear some playoff talk at some point, because they're going to be having these meetings, and that's a discussion that just never quite goes away. And so I guess we've arrived at that point now where the playoff is back in the spotlight. And yes, Ross Dellinger had a interesting article, as he typically does, and he brought up how this presidential media committee's 14-person media committee, who's got the backing of the White House, is in support or holding talks that are in support seemingly for an expanded playoff, and even pointed out that they have identified a variety of ways the industry could generate more revenue to help financially stressed schools, and this was one of those ideas. So, yeah, we knew that we were going to, whether a presidential committee was involved or it was just the typical people who talk about these things like the commissioners and presidents, we were going to have this conversation this offseason about what the future looked like. And to no one's surprise, it's going to look bigger. And just thought maybe we would settle in on 12 for a little bit, and we got maybe more of that than I expected we would. I thought there was a chance that maybe we were going to be talking about 12 for only a couple of years, and now we're heading into year 3 of the 12-team playoff. So we're getting a nice little sample of it. But yeah, there's clearly a lot of chatter about 16, but now there's more about 24. And so the 24, as you mentioned, is really, I think, what ruffles the feathers and has everybody kind of going, wait, what? Because if you just said 16, it's a nice round even number. 24 is 2, but it doesn't break down the same way as 16 and as cleanly as 16 does. And it's also just, it's a much larger number, folks. It's basically taking the entire top 25 except for team 25 and saying you're all in the playoff.
Yep.
You're just simply ranked in the top 25. You are a playoff team, except for one of you who will be left out. So that's a pretty big leap. That's doubling the field from where we are right now. And that's a little bit of a scary proposition for some people because of what it may do to the regular season. It's scary because it's just a much different thing than we've been dealing with as of late. And it's one thing to not have a playoff and then have a playoff and then it's a 4-team and then it's a 12-team. But when you're talking 24 teams, man, I mean, this changes the entire complexity of the game. And the devil will be in the details. This still isn't 100% sure, but these articles don't come out by any happenstance. There is clearly some driving forces behind this, including who he mentions here, which are these committee members.
You're right. But this, it was kind of always pointed at Tony Petitti. He was the bad guy, the villain that was trying to do this. And if it's not him, sometimes it might be Sankey. But yeah, there's momentum. And I've reached out to a couple of administrators, ADs, and asked them about, is this just yet another one of these phases where, okay, we meet? No, they said, no, there is at least a legitimate push to get that done. It won't be for this year, but to have that in place very soon.
Yeah, and Ross has some unquoted folks who are off the record, but one of them says that it's accurate to say there's a coalescing around 24. Said someone who's part of both the CFP governance committee and the presidential group, that there's some crossover between the two. The 14-person presidential committee includes Brett Yormark, Tony Petitti, Jim Phillips, Greg Sankey. You've also got Notre Dame involved there as well. The American is involved, among others. And then you've got some TV folks on the presidential committee, business folks, some politicians. Cody Campbell's obviously on there. So this is a big, wide swath of people. But, yeah, they all seem to be rallying around this idea, including the commissioners themselves. So it's not just these outsiders that came in and are taking a look at college football and they're like looking at the money that can be made. It's also the people who've also already been in the sport and are very well of its features and its bugs, who are now saying – across the board, like, yeah, I think we want 24 too. So yeah, it was Tony Petitti there on sort of an island by himself there and was the bad guy for a few weeks while he was the guy trying to ruin college football. But I mean, hell, if Yormark and Sankey and all of these people are going to be on board with it, then yeah, it's not Tony Petitti. It's Tony Petitti getting his way ultimately.
I got a note from Patrick Crates before we get to the next story, Rez. This is from Michael in the chat room. If D3 can go 32 teams, D2 has 28. FCS can have 24. The FBS can have a 24-team playoff. And you would think they should be able to. If that's what they're going to do, they're going to have to. But you never know when they just do something and get it done without 1,000 meetings in between. I don't care anymore. I just want the games to start so we can get to whatever it is, whether it's 2, 4, 6, 8. Who do we appreciate? Let's get to the playoff. For this year, it's 12 teams.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big decision and one that has a massive impact on the game, so I'm fine with them taking their time. I don't want them to rush just so I don't have to hear another headline. But, yeah, it's been ongoing for long enough that you do wish that they would come to a point where we could just have things settle into place and be that and not be – all right, what's next? How do we change what we just established? And how do we make it 12 and immediately go, all right, well, what about 14? What about 16? Oh, we're at 16. How do we get to 24? I mean, once they get to 24, what's it going to be? 32? Probably right. I mean, when are they going to stop? So, I mean, that's the part that I'm waiting for is when we finally reach a place where this is how the championship's decided and we don't revisit this every offseason and change it every 3 or 4 years or so just to keep satiating these unquenchable thirst for more and more money. And that's probably what's brought a lot of these people over is there's more money involved. I mean, what decisions do you point to where money wasn't the driving force that have been made over the last few years? I mean, yeah, Texas and Oklahoma joined the SEC somewhat for the prestige, but a lot of it had to do with the money. I don't know if they're making $60 million in the Big 12 if they're so keen to go jump into the pool with Alabama and Auburn and all those teams. Now, maybe the prestige still would have been a pull for them. Maybe they didn't ever think the Big 12 would work out no matter how much money was involved. But there's never enough money, not even for Ohio State, not even for Texas. So, yeah, 24 solves some of the money issues. That's probably why a lot of people have changed their opinions. We know the TV executives are never like, I don't think I've ever heard one TV executive say on the idea of an expanded playoff, like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. There's always, oh, no, that's brilliant. And here's why. And well, imagine that. The TV executives always think more and more and more is a great idea. What a surprise that is. But yeah, it's kind of a surprise that a lot of the college leaders have now seemingly flip-flopped on maybe where they were just even a few months ago.
Well, speaking of the TV executives, we have gotten to know a few of them. Jim Williams, Bob Thompson, Patrick Crakes, among others. Patrick Crakes, he had this comment after the Ross Dellinger story and the tease to it last night. It's fascinating how an expansion of super premium tier 1 sports media live game inventory appears to be only a part of a desperate solution to find meaningful incremental economics for college football. If doubling the number of playoff games and adding to an already record high media rights dollars doesn't move college programs safely into the green on operating profit that turns into free cash, what will?
Yeah, and it also mentions in regards to this 2014 playoff that amongst the conversation and kind of where people find themselves is the elimination of the conference championship games. So, like, when I say the power leagues, there's at least one power commissioner who's not, I guess, in favor of this, but it pointed out that like 3 of the 4 are, and then was it Jack Swarbrick was also on board.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound like it was unanimous, but pretty much unanimous. So I don't think that they are having to hold too much of a tug of war over this. But I'm glad that Patrick said that, because it goes against what I just laid out there, which you listen to TV executives and there's never a stop. There's never a stop. They'd be for 48. They'd be for 64. They'd be for 72. They want the basketball tournament bigger. I'm sure that they'll expand anything and everything they possibly can to create new inventory. But Patrick is right, and it's good to hear somebody like say what it is and call it like it is, and that it's never enough, and it never will be enough. And now you're trying to squeeze even more juice out. And I just think eventually you reach the point where they can do the 2014 playoff, but guess what's going to happen, folks? Take it to the effing bank right now. After a couple years of this, there will be some teams that wonder and need more money than they already make. They'll need to make $100 million as opposed to the 60 they needed originally, and then the 80 they ended up getting. And then once they get the 80, that 100 will be necessary, and then the 100 they'll get that, and then they'll need 115. And it'll never stop. And a lot of these schools are just never going to be able to make this work. So I look at this as, yeah, it could be great for college football. It could be a way to keep everyone included. But at some point, like, the dam is going to burst. You're not going to be able to just keep expanding things and creating money out of thin air. And it does feel like, to Patrick's point of like, all right, we're going 24 teams. We're putting as many big games on as we can. We're getting ready to conference championship weekend. We're going to put on even bigger games in its place, or maybe that'll be the first round of the playoffs, however they devise doing that. But like, after you do that, yeah, what more can you do? Like, how much more can you squeeze out of that rock? I don't know how much more you can do. I don't think you can just say, all right, now we need more money. Let's do 32. I mean, at some point, it's just not going, the math's not going to math anymore. And at some point, you can't just keep increasing, because the TV networks are going to, at some level, go, yeah, we don't really want 48 teams in the playoffs. We don't really care about Iowa State versus Texas State in a first round 64 game. Kind of like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's just not going to be the money to do it. So we're speed racing to find out what that point is of where the money runs out.
I saw, and this is a bad analogy. I probably shouldn't use it, but some of those.
Then don't.
I know. I shouldn't. I won't. I was talking about like in a tunnel, and there's some people that drive a lot faster than others, and I mean zooming through there, and that's kind of what you pay for. You want to be able to go flying through it instead of getting stuck in traffic, and all of a sudden, if anything up ahead of you like stops, you are screwed, and you don't have time to react. And that's my concern, is they're going to run themselves head into this expansion. and they'll figure it out. And then yet again, how many teams are actually making money when they're making more money now and more popular now than ever before?
I mean, I think in regards to a tunnel analogy, I think that a lot of these changes, people are crossing their fingers and hoping that there is that light at the end of the tunnel. But what I think is they might just see somebody holding the flashlight at the end and they think it's a light, and it's really not the light that they're expecting. It's not you're getting out on the other side free and clear, and then it's easy sailing and you can finally breathe again. I think that they are just running straight towards a wall, and there's a guy standing in front of the wall just waving a flashlight. They think that's the light at the end of the tunnel, but they are very sorely mistaken. I lean more that way than, if we just do this 32-team playoff or 24-team playoff or 16-team playoff, that it's going to solve all their problems. It doesn't solve the problem of, guess what, guys? The more money you make, the more the lawyers take notice of the money you make, the more that trickles down to where the athletes now want more of that money. The pro leagues don't expand their TV rights and then just hold on to all the excess cash that they made compared to when they made before, and all the salaries stay the same. They get all this new money, and guess what happens? The players union is like, all right, how much of this is now ours? So our 100 million is now 120, and that's what will happen here eventually as well is, oh, wow, y'all are now making way more money because there's a bigger playoff. Well, guess what Trinidad Chambliss wants next year? He doesn't want 5, he wants 8. And guess what? Garrett Nussmeier doesn't want 8. He wants 12. You can do it, LSU, because now you're making $65 million alone from the SEC and another 15 from the playoff. Like you can make it work. So there will never be a point where you reach a money figure that everybody stops asking for more money. That's the thing that's just unsustainable. Is it's very much like our country in that it's never enough for some people. Like it's never.
Yeah, very rarely do prices, once they surge up, gasoline prices go up and down based on what's happening now and elsewhere. But yeah, rarely does something that cost $1.50 at the grocery store ever go below $1.50 if it goes to 2 or 3 or 4. It's not coming back down.
Yeah, I mean, gas might eventually come down, but guess what? It's not happening anytime soon. I mean, not to where it was. Yeah. It's if it ever gets back to that point. I know I've read plenty of people that believe that's the new normal now, and it's not going to go back down because too many people are making money off of it. And there's things like we saw during COVID when people would raise grocery prices. And guess what? A lot of those didn't come back down. Diet Cokes didn't get cheaper. They got more and more expensive, but there was still a demand for it, so you got away with it. They're playing with the demand levels here. I think that they're still in the clear as far as that goes, but the area where they are definitely not in the clear and where that is not a light at the end of the tunnel is in thinking that, if we just do 24 teams, well, then everybody's going to be happy and we'll all make enough money and everybody will be satisfied. No, inevitably somebody's going to go, well, now I want more than this and I need 32 teams, and it's never going to end. So that's like my concern is just, when does it end? How does it end? Because at some point you're just not going to be able to squeeze out any more money. And then that's, I think, where you get into that overall long-term conversation of, well, how can you make money? Well, you don't split the pie as many ways. Yeah. And that's how you start to shrink, not the size of the pie, but the slices are cut a lot different. And that's where you start to go, well, does Charlotte really need some of this pie? Because Michigan really needs more of this pie.
No. Yeah. There are teams that, unfortunately, the G5 or 6, and even some others that will be eventually kind of moved into the corner like old furniture. It's just inevitable. By the way, somebody put up the note about the NFL. They keep making more, and they're about to double very soon their television revenue for the networks, because now you have the streamers involved, and college will too. Double, like it's the salary cap at one point was like 10 million. Now it's in the 300, 200, whatever it is, but they all evenly distribute that. So nobody gets to run away and hide with more money than the 32nd cheapest or not cheapest. They're all worth billions, but you know what I mean by that. In college football, that's not the case.
No, the Cowboys can't look at the Arizona Cardinals and say, we bring more fans, so we deserve to have double what you get, because that's not the way it's laid out. But the way college sports is, Michigan could very well say that to North Texas and say, we're not playing the same game. You're taking some of our cut. That money could be better spent elsewhere. And I'm just throwing a couple of just random teams out there. But, yeah, I mean, what have we ever been given as a reason to believe that the thirst will ever be quenched as far as the need for money?
No, I don't.
We've only seen it get worse and worse over the last 5 years. And now this is another attempt to try to quench it a little bit more. But guess what? It's going to go right through their system, and they're going to be panting and needing more and more and more and more, and it's never going to stop until it finally does stop. And I just don't know what that looks like. But I mean, like, so we're talking about it from the business side, and it's also from the fan side, because obviously it's a huge topic of conversation. From a fan side, just forget the money, just what I watch as somebody who's loved college football since I was a little kid. I don't love it. I can live with it. A lot, again, will depend on the details. Like, does this mean we get a bunch of first-round games? I need to see what 24 looks like. What does this mean for conference championship weekend? Are playing games legit? Like, I've seen those ideas floated multiple different places, and some of it's compelling. Some of it I feels like just trying to throw stuff out there to simply ask for more money in return of like, well, see, instead of one conference championship game, now we've got all these play-in games. CBS, give us more money. But, like, how much can you do that?
Well, and that's the other thing, Craig. ESPN owns the entire playoff. If they do expand, and they're going to, Fox now, Eric Shanks wants a piece of that. That's why he's talking to Petiti. But ESPN owns the rights to it. Now, they'll put it back up for grabs whenever that contract runs out, and that's going to happen. You cannot have a network that does all of the games and also put them in places where people could watch them and enjoy.
I just don't think they have the room. They were already subleasing some games to Turner this year. So I think that, that's probably where ESPN sees that they can make some money.
They can in basketball, but they play on Thursday mornings, and you know what I mean? 11 o'clock and 11 o'clock.
I mean, they're unique spots, but they got to get played somewhere. And so that's the trade-off you make of, sometimes you got to play on a Friday night if you want more money in your TV contract. Texas Tech, Arizona State, Baylor, all those schools that signed up for that, or on a Thursday night. Like, that's just part of the deal that you signed. You want the money, you gotta do the job, and the job for them is to play on an occasional weeknight. But I'm sure ESPN would sublease some of those, and Turner would probably be interested. I'm sure Fox would be interested, because that's just a lot of inventory, and it's just a premier package that could generate more money. But again, like, at what point? Because they're not going to just go up and up and up in prices forever and ever and ever. And you can only keep expanding so much to the point where it just eventually does look like basically what it is, which is a massive money grab. But from a fan standpoint, not caring about the money involved, like, it's the devil in the details. Like, what are we talking about exactly with conference championship weekend? Like, what model are we going by? How are the teams determined? Where's the committee in all of this? Like, are they ranking all 24 teams? Because I don't trust them to do that. I don't trust them to do 12 by themselves, much less do 24 teams and do it fairly. So that will be the stuff that is of major interest just from a fan standpoint on how this could all work. But I do think college football is a game where if you do it right, you can make some really cool shit. And I'm sorry, but I need to use that word because it's just you can make some really cool shit happen.
Yeah.
But I just don't always trust them to all be unselfish enough to allow it to be as cool as it can be.
Scott Strickland, Florida AD. A committee is not ideal to choose a postseason.
No.
I question whether it's appropriate for college football. I'm not a big fan of automatic qualifiers. Mark Keenum, the president at Mississippi State. I think the best teams ought to play in the nation's national tournament to determine who our national champion in college football is going to be. If you don't have automatic qualifiers, oh man, that's another thing you got to worry about when it comes to the conference championship games, because that's one more loss. Although a loss to Alabama or Michigan or whoever might be good for you because you're trying to get in, even if you lose that game. We've seen that happen for some, and for others it has not. So a lot of good talk. Hold on, Andrew put up a poll. I hope we get a lot of your feedback, a lot of your votes on it. We'll go to it later in the show, and also some of you on message boards and in the chat giving us messages in your opinion too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting topic, and I know people have some pretty strong opinions about it. I mean, there's more involved here. They're not just looking to generate revenue just from the playoffs. There was also talk about capping coaching salaries and things that are pretty much a pipe dream because that just seems like it's got legal issues written all over it. But yeah, capping or limiting coach and administrator pay, like that actually would make sense. But I think that the ship has already left the dock in that regard. But yeah, the other concepts to generate revenue, more games on week 0, early season calendar getting worked over, a G6 playoff, perhaps for G6 conference champions who don't make the CFP field. So, I mean, that to me, is that not a separation of some sort? Like, that's where I'm saying, like, there's going to be some cracks somewhere along the way. I don't think everybody's just going to kumbaya to all this money because, again, the top feeders are going to want the majority of it. And the more that you make and the more that you need, the less you're probably inclined to keep sharing it with people who you don't see on your level to begin with. Unifying media rights, we've talked about that with Cody Campbell, redistribution models, all those types of things are being talked about. But yeah, they're at a point where they're trying to figure out where does more money come from. And the easiest answer is not those things necessarily. It is the quick fix or the quicker fix, the quickest fix, the most logical fix is let's just expand the playoff again and create more TV inventory and more premier matchups.
I actually traded text messages with Cody Campbell, not name dropping. I did over a couple of different things, and he's going to join us a week from Friday. He's going to be a part of the show here on the Smoke Show in 365 Sports. For those, some saying you don't want automatic qualifiers. Well, some conferences don't.
See,
because they can stack 6, 8, whatever, 24, maybe more. Because right now, sometimes 4 or 5 or so getting in, even when it's 12, or some people feel like it should be.
See, yeah, that's some of the devil in the details I would need to know to really have a fully formed opinion on this. I mean, what are we talking about exactly? You just say 24 teams. All right, where are the home games? How do the buys work? How does the seeding work? How do they get selected? Are there automatic qualifiers? Are there not? And I know there's a lot of people who don't like the automatic qualifiers, but my God, if you're Brett Yormark and Jim Phillips and you don't have some assurance that you're getting at least like 3 teams in a 24-team field, now it shouldn't be in question, because if you're worth a salt, you should have 3 teams in the top 25, because that's really all we're talking about here is the top 25 minus 1.
Well,
what assurance?
There'll be 4 or 5 in the top 25 that won't be a part of the playoff at 24. There'll be somebody like lingering around 30, or again receiving other votes that will be.
But if you're like Coastal Carolina and you're 23 and they're going to push you out for unranked Mississippi State.
Oh,
well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
That's where we need to figure out. All right, how is this being determined? Because that sounds like a load of crap right there. I don't think a non-top 25 ranked Mississippi State team, for example, should be jumping somebody who's in the top 25, but we can already very easily envision that conference. Well, they didn't play anybody at Coastal Carolina. The only reason they're in the top 25 is because they only had one tough game. And
other conferences like that too.
And they're, of course. But I mentioned Mississippi State a second ago, so I'm rolling with that version of it. But yeah, like whoever out of the Big Ten, same thing. Iowa. Why are we're the 26th team. The 24th team is Charlotte. I'll use them again. And look at our schedules and compare. And we lost, 1 or 2 more games, but we had to play Michigan. We already know those conversations. We've already had some of those conversations. So the devil will be in the details. There's a lot swirling in these meetings. There's a lot that I touched on very briefly of the other things they're discussing. They are trying to find money. They are trying to find creative ways, but there's only so many ways you can be creative that aren't just logical, like expanding the playoff. But some of those things I mentioned, I mean, how the TV deals work, and who knows, maybe somebody's actually doubling back to Cody Campbell's idea and going, hell, you know what? Maybe this would be a way to solve some of this, or at least parts of it. But yeah, I think it's very interesting to talk about. It's very interesting that there's been a mood change in the room. I think all that signifies is that they are desperate for more money. More money. And
by the way, we'll have Bob Swanger, I don't want automatic qualifiers. Haven't seen you in a while, Bob. Welcome back, a Penn State fan, along with a couple others we have in the chat.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, if I'm looking at it just from the big picture and as like an Oklahoma fan, sure, I don't need any automatic qualifiers. If I'm a Arizona State fan, I'm probably more inclined to, or Georgia Tech or something, where they currently sit, I'm probably more in favor of some automatic qualifiers, because we've seen, for example, out of the Big 12, how BYU's been viewed the last couple of years. Now, I don't think that BYU's been just royally screwed over 2 years in a row. I definitely think they've got some beef and they've got a bone to pick to some degree. I think they allowed some of that themselves. Like, yeah, you should have won one more game, right? Like, and you answer those questions, but they have to put up, for example, much more of a fight than the third or fourth team in another conference. And that's where you have to ensure that you're not, as like the number 2 team in a league, getting boxed out by like 5 from the other league based on perception and because there's a lack of AQs. So
that is absolutely going to happen.
Not if you have automatic qualifiers, which is why I'm saying if you are Arkansas, do you want automatic qualifiers? No. If you're Arizona, do you feel like the Big 12 probably needs an assurance that, like, hey, there's 24 teams, but 3 of them are going to be from the Big 12 no matter what? Then I think you feel like, okay, well, if we're not top 3 in the league, then we probably don't have much of a case. But if you say, well, it's just no automatic qualifiers whatsoever, you can see a way where Team 5 in the Big 10 is being put up against like Team 3 in the ACC, and Team 5 wins out because of they have Ohio State on the schedule, and that was their major loss. And that's the part where it goes back to the devil in the details of, yeah, the AQs would be very much still the hot button topic. We know how the commissioners have kind of talked about that previously, but clearly minds change, opinions change, the environment changes. So I don't know where everybody's heads are on that, but I think the smaller leagues who don't get the benefit of the doubt, they should probably want some automatic qualifiers.
Well, there was 16 was what we thought was next. And then they got to 12. Remember, they went to 12 somewhat quickly, and now they might just double it. It's a topic we could discuss, and we will, and we have for the first 30 minutes of this show to get Craig's opinion, my opinion, your feedback too, and we do appreciate you for being a part of watching what we do on the Smoke Show in 365 Sports. We will have Babe Laufenberg, Cowboys radio color analyst, former Indiana quarterback. He's done that countdown because Fernando Mendoza tomorrow night is going to be the number 1 pick of the draft and the highest ever drafted Indiana quarterback. We'll have that from him, among some other things too.
And on that topic, I don't know if the video's out yet, but I did a smoke break. And for those that might be new joining us, it's just like a little 10 to 15 minute solo video that I do about 3 times a week, trying to get to a more strict schedule with it where it'll drop on the same days every week. But I actually did one that is either out or should be out at any moment. And it's taking a look at next year's draft and the possibilities at quarterback. And I know everybody gets way ahead of themselves with like the mock draft the year beforehand, and next year's quarterback class is not going to be the full meal deal where every guy who's eligible is going to decide to come out all at the same time. But I did play a little bit of a fun game where I went through and I did predict, here's 3 guys that I'm banking my paycheck on will be first rounders next year. And here's 3 guys who I think will not be under, if they decide to enter the draft, first rounders next year. And here are 3 guys who I think are going to be like, I'm going to stay in school for another year and I'm going to make some sweet NIL money like my redshirt junior season, and I'm not going to jump in just yet. So I've got that up. It's predicting the 2027 quarterback class to some degree. I don't go through like every guy, but if all the guys who are eligible decided to come out for next year's draft, it would be without question the most utterly insane quarterback draft that you've ever seen. I mean, just Arch Manning, Dante Moore, Brendan Sorsby, Trinidad Chambliss, Josh Hoover, CJ Carr, Darian Mensah, Damon Williams, Drew Mestamaker. You can get into guys like Rocco Becht, Byron Brown. So some of those will graduate.
Did you mention
Sellers?
Well, at the same time, Nussmeier and a few others this year we thought would be in the first round, and they all faded or were hurt.
Well, that's where my prediction comes in.
But if you have 8 to 12 of those guys, you're going to be can you imagine the kind of trades that might happen leading up to the draft in a year?
Well, and yeah, I know it won't work out that way, and that's why I predicted 3 guys that I think will not 2028 they'll eventually come out and be first rounders, or 2020 next year. I'm predicting 3 guys that are going to be first rounders, 3 guys that will not be and will be eligible and be in the draft, and then 3 guys who I think are going to stick around and covet that sweet NIL money a little bit more. But yeah, there's the draft coming up here tomorrow. And there's not a lot of talk outside of Fernando Mendoza. And now I've seen a little late run on Carson Beck, some little flares being shot up as far as Carson Beck maybe getting into the second round and being the next guy off the board along with Ty Simpson. But it is a very weak quarterback class, as everybody who's paid attention has known for a while now. But next year, like the the elements are in play where it could be utterly insane. But I know it won't be, because there will be guys that say, well, I'm not going to come out this year when there's 12 dudes. I'm going to wait another year, like a CJ Carr or something. But there's also guys like CJ Carr that if they wanted to come out, could very well be the top of those 12 guys. So long way out, but just teasing that video because it's actually pretty fun to look at who all from the redshirt sophomores like Mestamaker, Sayin, Carr, all the way up to the guys who are going to have to graduate like Sorsby and Chambliss and Mayava, and then the guys in between, Arch, Levitt, those guys. Like it's going to be really cool to see how that quarterback class takes shape next year.
Yeah, there's a ton. Ought to be fun, and let's get to that next year, which of course is coming up in late August. But still discussion. This college football playoff thing is always something. And of course, college football has never been more popular. So they're doing something right, even though sometimes frustrating to watch it unfold. One note, let's break. We'll break and come back with Babe Laufenberg. Have a lot to get to with him. He has done film study on some quarterbacks, of course, the Fernando Mendoza, and his thoughts about what the team he broadcast with the great Brad Sham and Babe Laufenberg. You don't get better than that. What the Cowboys should do. That and more. We appreciate your time, and this is 365 Sports. Petty Clinic, LowT.com. Dr. Ken Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be. How can he help you get better? How can he help you feel better? How can he help your energy, your sex drive that is not the same, performance not the same? It could be something else. But there's a really good chance 1 out of every 3 to 4 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone. Call him, contact him, get on the website, however you want. Tell them I sent you. They will set up an appointment for you to get your blood work. Dr. Petty will get the results, get in touch with you, and go over a plan, a program, and an option so that you can raise your T level and become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be at pettycliniclowt.com.
Broker is your Lennox Premier dealer. Right now, qualified buyers can make no payments and get no interest financing for 12 months on a new Lennox home comfort system. Conditions apply. Call Ray Broker Air Conditioning and Heating Specialists for details and a free estimate.
We're celebrating the Declaration of Deals at Allen Samuels in Waco. Right now, get $11,000 off a new Ram 1500 Lone Star, plus 2.9% for 72 months. Cash in on $11,000 off a new Ram 2500 Lone Star Crew Cab, or choose 0% for 36 months, plus no payments for 90 days. Feel secure with America's best full-size truck powertrain 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty at Allen Samuels.
Come by, let's be friends.
Bold are the adventurous. Determined are the leaders. Faithful are the healers. At Baylor, you'll find your calling, your people, and your purpose. Dare to be you, indeed.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
Extreme Texas weather calls for Ray Broker, your Lennox Premier dealer. Sign up for our year-round comfort plan and keep your home the perfect temperature no matter what the forecast is. Call or visit raybroker.com now. Ray Broker, your air conditioning and heating specialist.
This 3 o'clock hour is brought to you by QC Kinetics. Feel better, move better, live better with regenerative medicine using your body's own healing abilities for natural pain relief. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. With locations in Dallas and Houston at QCkinetics.com. Now it's time for 365 Sports.
Babe Laufenberg, Cowboys color analyst with Brad Sham on the Cowboys Radio Network, and former NFL quarterback and Stanford and Indiana quarterback. Reg, do you have the tweet that Babe has been doing this countdown for a long time as the highest drafted quarterback in Indiana history, and it's now down to, here it is, here's the latest, 24 hours or less. Babe, this has been a funny bit. I've enjoyed it. And man, you're about to lose that mantle.
Well, I am, but Smoke, do you remember I think it was the Chicago Tribune headline, Dewey defeats Truman?
Yep.
Okay, right. So let's not jump the gun.
Still a chance.
He may fall to 169. So you know what's funny about that quickly? I was doing a show. I tell people I did more, radio hits and TV things for the 3 weeks kind of leading up to the national championship game, starting with the Rose Bowl, about Mendoza. And then, of course, I played for Lee Corso, so they wanted those stories. But I did more in 3 weeks than I did in 30 years on Indiana football. But I'm on the show with some guy, Smoke, and he says, well, you're the highest drafted quarterback in Indiana University history. And I said, I am? I mean, I didn't even know. And I said, well, what about Trent Green? Trent Green played there, and he had a hell of a career. And anyway, he said 8th round. And Antoine Randall was a great college quarterback, but he was a receiver in the NFL. And his last year played receiver really at Indiana because he knew he wouldn't be a quarterback. So technically you could say Randall L. But anyway, so then I Googled it. You go to AI, and there it was. So then I thought, this would be fun, going along with this thing. So anyway, I've had fun with it, and I think people have had fun. I've enjoyed, quite honestly, guys, the responses to it on my social media more than what I've posted.
Yeah, I bet so. Babe, I mean, as an Indiana guy, what's the last few months been like? I mean, it was this fun little story, and then it was a very real deal, and now it's truly reality. And not only are they the national champions, but they're about to have the first overall pick in the draft. And it's just, what's it like as an alum to kind of experience this the last, 3 months or so?
No, it's great. I mean, it's just, I don't want to say it came out of nowhere, because obviously the year before they had a good team. They got beat by Notre Dame in the playoff first round and whatnot. But not only that, to go 16-0, and it was an incredible season. Mendoza, who I do not know, but such a likable kid, right? I mean, how do you look at him and that story and his mother? And I mean, the list goes on and on. How do you say, I don't like that Mendoza guy? But it's great. And Cignetti is so fun. And as a matter of fact, Cignetti won the Gene Stallings Coach of the Year Award, which is presented here in Dallas. And it's coming up in a couple of weeks. And I'll be the presenter for Cignetti. So it's kind of cool. All this stuff has been fun.
Well,
I will tell you this, Joe Buck, you guys found out Joe Buck was an Indiana grad, right?
I did know that. Yes.
Yeah, but you didn't know it up until this year, did you?
No, I had no. He could have gone to Dartmouth. I wouldn't have known. No, I have no clue.
Right. Well, no, because now suddenly he's coming out of the woodwork.
Oh,
yeah. Said, Joe, hey, next time you do, an appearance, take the price tag off of your shirt before your Indiana shirt before you go on the air.
You say you don't know him, so you've never met Fernando Mendoza? Never shook
I
his
have
hand?
not. No.
Okay.
No. It's just funny. I mean, I'm obviously so much older and what's going on there. And I don't get back because of Cowboy games. I've been to a couple of Indiana games when they played Indianapolis. When the Cowboy, and that's once every 8 years that they go to Indy. And if it matches up where Indiana has had a game, then I go in a day early, go to that game that Saturday, come back up to Indianapolis. Bloomington is a straight 60 mile south drive from Indianapolis. So you're there in an hour. But Hopefully I get there next year. Cowboys are in Indy.
But you have watched him and seen him.
Oh,
he
yeah.
will be picked by the Raiders tomorrow as the number 1 pick of the draft. Last thoughts on him. What do you see in him? What are your thoughts when you watch him play?
Well, as we know, he's all about football, makes great decisions with the ball, has plenty of arm. We saw the touchdown run against Miami in the Natty. He can run it when he has to. He's not a Lamar Jackson, but he definitely, you turn your back on him, play man coverage, 3rd and 5, he's going to go get that first down. He's tough. We saw that against Ohio State. The Big Ten championship game, I mean, he got drilled. And I was like, boy, this guy he may be out of the game. First play. And stuck in there, played great. Let me just say this. There's really nothing not to like, right? I mean, he's accurate, good decisions. Football, you can tell it means a lot to him. All about his team, all about his teammates. Now, that being said, all of them can fail. We've seen a lot of really talented guys get there, and for whatever reason, by hook or crook. Now, the one thing he'll have in his corner is Tom Brady. So if you want to go down the hall and pick a guy's brain or pick up the phone, how about one of the minority owners of the Las Vegas Raiders?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's a huge advantage for him. And we'll see what Clint Kubiak does. Obviously he had success in Seattle and has had success. So much of it to me, we saw it with Sam Darnold to an extent, right? I mean, the Jets quarterbacks go there to die. We all know that. So Sam Darnold bounces his way around and has a great year in Minnesota, then goes out, wins Super Bowl in Seattle. But I believe it's his 5th team. So much of that quarterback position is being, at the right place, players around you, good coaching staff, good head coaching, good front office, getting you players, all that stuff. So it all has to fall in line for the quarterback. It does. I can be a great defensive tackle. I'll give you Joe Thomas, right? Left tackle for the Cleveland Browns. Never missed a snap, 10 or 11 straight Pro Bowls or whatever it was, Hall of Famer, never played in a playoff game.
Yeah.
If you're a quarterback and you never played in a playoff game, I got news for you. You ain't going to the Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. So we all know it's the most important position on the field, but by the same token, it's also the most dependent on everybody around you.
So, Babe, we know Fernando's going to be 1-1, barring like a meteor hitting Earth unexpectedly. But beyond that,
which I'm praying, by the way, I'm praying for.
You are.
Maintain your record. But beyond that, it's a massive drop off. We just don't know how extreme the drop off is. Like, it will be a full round until Ty Simpson hears his name called. But it's like Ty Simpson and it's Carson Beck a little bit. But beyond that, there's just not a lot happening with this quarterback class. Are there some other guys besides Mendoza that you do like, you do think will be good on the next level? Kind of how do you gauge this quarterback crop this year?
The intriguing guy for me, and it's funny too, you mentioned Ty Simpson, 2nd round pick or whatnot. Teams get nervous, as you know. Mm-hmm. If you don't have a guy, it's the one position that you don't look at, hey, we've got a 3rd round grade on this guy, whatnot, whoever that is. You got a 3rd round grade on a guy, you're taking him in the 3rd round or below. But quarterback, you may have a lower grade on him, but you say, you know what? We're stuck with Joe Blow, and he ain't going to win a game for us. So we'll just take our shot here. But Simpson's interesting. He's one of those guys, too. I believe he's got 15 starts in his career, and you've seen the history of that. Mitch Trubisky, Trey Lance, guys that have limited number of starts. They just have not had success. The guy I'm a little bit intrigued with is Garrett Nussmeier. Obviously, I know his dad, friends with his dad, and it's not a bias, I don't think. But, he played at LSU. LSU was not the LSU that we know of. Head coach gets fired midseason. He played with an oblique injury for the whole season. And, so much torque is involved in throwing the football that, man, if you've got an oblique injury, I don't know how you get through it. So he is a guy, to me, if I were taking a chance on a guy at that quarterback position, I think it would be him because I could see a lot of upside there.
And quarterbacks are asked to play even sooner now than ever before. Parcells used to have a stat about the number of, was it starts, games, or pass attempts that he would look at when it came to the draft, Babe?
Yeah, he had like 5 things. 3-year starter. Of course, now you can be like a 5-year starter. But it was 3-year starter. This one is obsolete now. Complete 60% of your passes. Once upon a time, that was a great benchmark. But with these offenses and the bubble screens and the ball get thrown behind the line of scrimmage half the time, these guys, you've completed 50% of your passes when you come out for the national anthem. You're already at 50%. And after that, it's like, and so I don't look at that number. But yeah, he wanted starts. He wanted 3-year starter. He wanted a team captain. There are about 5 things he had in there. And, again, for me, Mendoza, he just checks all the boxes.
Babe, when it comes to the Cowboys, 12-20, I mean, there's a lot of interesting things that can happen here. I mean, there's been talk about you trade up with the right guys there. Who do you go after? Where's your mind when it comes to the Cowboys holding these 2 first-round picks? What are you anticipating? What would you like to see? Just kind of help make sense of it all for us.
Well, I'll go with what I would like to see because I don't have any inside information for you. I wish I did. But if I was sitting there, I mean, I would say, look, we're going to stay at 12. We're going to take that's going to get you a really good player. We don't know who that player will be, obviously, because it's predicated on what happens ahead of you. But 12, you're going to get a really good plug-in. You sign him and he's a starter from day one. 20, I would move back if you can find a partner, and only because the Cowboys go. So they have the 12th pick in the draft, as we know. They have 20. Then it goes to 92. Mm-hmm. So they're sitting on the sideline for 71 picks. And if I move down from that 20, I don't know, go to 28, 29, 30, whatever, and then pick up a second-round pick, that's what I would be doing. Or get in there for the high third round. That 92 pick is a low third-round pick. So I just hate to see 71 guys go off the board. And you're sitting there, as we all know, you've got a guy rated wherever. Let's just say you got a late first-round grade on him, and you're sitting there late in the second round, and he's still sitting there. But you can't go get him because you don't have a pick. Great example, Howie Roseman, who has been, everything he does turns to gold. Cooper DeJean, they went up to, I believe it was 40 2 years ago. He was sitting there, and they had such a high grade on him, they traded up to 40. And what was interesting was the Rams then traded to get to 39. And Howie Roseman thought, oh man, they're taking our guy. And he was just like totally deflated. I can only imagine, I haven't sat in a draft room, but I can only imagine when you're like, okay, there's our guy. Oh, there's our guy. Good. He's coming to us. And then they're picked right before you. Yeah. Oh God, they just took our guy.
Yeah. And but, you got to start. They have backup plans, but man, this has got to be a gut punch. Yeah. Oh,
just a gut punch. And to your point, yes, you don't sit there and go, you don't throw your hands up in the air and say, oh, what are we going to do now? But it's got to be like, okay, let's regroup, splash a little water on our face here. We got to make a pick.
Well, so with 12 and 20, if they stay there, and they'll try to maybe move up if somebody slips or whatever, but Babe, these first couple of guys, do they have to be a defensive player? I mean, unless someone slips deeply, do you feel like they just have to go after somebody to help them on the pass rush, linebackers, whatever else, secondary?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to me, the pass rusher is the guy. I always say you get a great corner, and yes, you need great corners and be great to get a good corner, but I got 4 other guys. I'm the quarterback. I got 4 other guys I can throw to, right? That pass rusher, boy, he occupies a lot of your time, and the corner doesn't make up for a lack of a pass rush, but a great pass rusher can make corners look a lot better. You go back to Deron Bland and Trayvon Diggs, and Diggs had the 11 interceptions in 1 year. That was a product of the pressure that they put on the quarterback. They're throwing from the back foot, getting hit. Dan Quinn did a great job. Obviously, Micah Parsons was great. You remember him, right? Micah Parsons used to play for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's funny?
It's so funny because go ahead. Go ahead.
What's funny about that is they had Micah. They made a trade. They got a lot of collateral and but then they are looking for a pass rusher.
Right. Right. It's like, gosh, we need a pass rusher. Well, did we? Oh, wait a minute, we haven't. But hey, that, as you know, we won't go down that. That's been a year down the road. But that thing just got wonky, and I don't know what the hell happened. But and the downside of obviously that too, when you look at the year the Cowboys had defensively, it wasn't just Micah, but you're coming in as a defensive staff, a new defensive staff, and you're everything you're doing is geared toward that guy, toward number 11. How can we free him up? What can we do? And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, we don't have that guy anymore. So that was a tough situation that Matt Eberflus was in last year.
Babe, what did you think? And I'll have eyes on what Washington and Philly and New York do, obviously. So what did you think of the Giants making that move with Dexter Lawrence?
Yeah, to me, that just told me that Harbaugh was putting his stamp on things there. And we all knew as soon as they signed Harbaugh, in my mind anyway, and I know anybody that follows football, so I'm not holding myself out as some type of genius. You just said the Giants got a lot better. They had been in just purgatory or really hell for the longest time. And now they got a leader there. He came in and basically said, when Dexter Lawrence says, I don't want to be here, he said, okay, good. You won't be here. You're in Cincinnati. So it's funny. The Jets and the Giants are the two losingest teams in the NFL over the last decade.
Yeah.
So it's been tough. You grew up in New York, you're a kid, right? You're like, well, I'm going to be a Jets fan then. And then they're not doing well. So you say, well, I'm going to be a Giants fan. And you go, oh, wow, they stink just as much. You always had a choice, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in Los Angeles. Dodgers were usually pretty good, but if they had a bad, hey, I'm an Angels fan, right? You just go to the other team. But they didn't get, the draft, man, New York. So the Jets have pick number 2, the Giants have 5, the Giants have 10, and the Jets have 16. So, 25% of the first round there through the first 16 picks, New York fans are going to be all pumped up.
Babe, you shot me a text when we were going back and forth on getting you on the show. You said you were going to do film study on Sawyer Robertson.
I did.
He's not projected to go. I don't know where he's going to go, but I've seen a lot of the stuff he's done with Gruden. He's a really great kid. I've told you that. Loves ice cream too.
Yeah.
What did you see from him on film?
I liked him. I did. There's nothing that just jumps out like if you're watching, which is unfair because there's very few guys that look like this guy. But you watch Josh Allen and you just he's throwing the ball 80 yards. He's running over people. He's running around people. He's 6'6". He's got all these just great qualities about him, and obviously has turned himself into one of the top players in the NFL. But no, I was a little more impressed with him, if this makes sense, than I thought it would be. Mm-hmm. But no, I like the way he operated. He looked like he got through his progressions pretty well. Again, not an overpowering arm, but that, you don't need that. You just need enough. And he's got enough. So, and I loved your scouting report, by the way, Smoke. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And I always say, hey, if a guy went to Oklahoma, right? Bill Jones, a CBS anchor here. And, he went to Oklahoma. I'll ask him about Oklahoma players because he watches basically every Oklahoma game. So if you know a little bit about football and you watch every game, those guys are. So anyway, I appreciated. I knew that you're watching a lot of Baylor. I got a couple games last year, but I'm always doing work for the Cowboys and looking up, and you catch a play or two, but you don't get a feel for the game. So I loved your scouting report, and I thought it was right on. You should be a scout.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I think so. It'll be a solid day 3 pick for somebody and have an opportunity to try to make a roster. He's a good dude, so I'm very interested to see how he works out. And I don't have a question for you to close it out, Babe, but we started talking with Indiana, and I want to circle back to Mendoza was this year's 1-1. I don't think Josh Hoover will be a 1-1, but I am very excited to see. I don't know how much you caught him at TCU, but I'm excited to see what he's like in Bloomington there with Cignetti and company.
Yeah, I did watch him a little bit here. Obviously, being at TCU and around the corner kind of, and I'm actually friends with Sonny Dykes, so I tend to watch a little TCU football. He turned it over a little bit at TCU as we've had a little running going back and forth. And you know what's funny? I know everybody thinks, well, Cignetti will wave his magic wand, and that'll end. But they certainly got a good one. I will say this: it's the old thing. You don't want to be the guy who replaces the guy. You want to be the guy who replaces the guy who replaced the guy. So following after Mendoza and 16-0, I mean, the first incompletion. You know how that goes.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Danny White experienced it here for 5 years. Right. So he's going to have a lot of pressure on him, but we'll see what happens. I will say this: I just got a notice or whatnot, and season tickets at Indiana are sold out already.
Oh wow! I can believe it.
So they're ready to roll there, and a lot of pressure on that young man, but. Hey, it's the nature of the position, right?
Yeah. He's getting paid a lot of money, apparently, like all these quarterbacks these days are to try and bring them home another natty. But yeah, the bar has been raised. That's for dang sure. I lied, though. I do have one question, because there was the news about George Pickens and the Cowboys franchise tagging him, according to Stephen Jones earlier today. Any thoughts on that? Any surprise by that? And do you feel like that's the route that's best to go with the Cowboys and George Pickens at this point?
Well, they still have until July 15th, to get a deal with him. I could see wanting one more year of product knowledge, if you will. I know he had a great year last year, had a few things off the field, nothing major. But I'd probably like another year with him to say, okay, we're going to go out there and give him $100 million guaranteed and all that stuff. I might want one more year of product knowledge with that.
Babe, on the set, we had you on a few months back. You sent us a box with wristbands and much more. I've got the coffee cup, Live Like Luke, and the picture of him on the other side. I saw the hat at the Vatican that somebody put there to get a picture of him in a way at the Vatican. And then also this one, Scotty Walden, Jason Garrett, and you are out at UTEP where Luke obviously played, and you have a nutrition center that you helped fundraise to keep that thing going. How cool was that?
It was very cool. And let me just say, Jason Garrett came out. So they had a coaches clinic. I'll be quick here, but they had a coaches clinic for the high school coaches there in El Paso. And Jason came out. I went out, Jason, and spoke to the coaches clinic. And then the next morning, we both spoke separately to the team before their practice. And yeah, Jason got his nutrition shake. And so we have funded the building of that, and then we fund all the supplies that go into it. Every player gets protein shake after practice, and protein bars in there. So all of that is funded through the fundraiser that we do. And Jason, I told Jason that was a very expensive shake because he was giving me a lot of money toward that. And so I said, I hope that thing tasted good. He said, oh, Pampino was the best. I said, okay, well, that's good to hear. But thank you. And hey, if anybody's interested, you can go online.
Yep.
If you just go to UTEP, Luke Laufenberg, you'll find it. You can just navigate your way through, and you can donate if you'd like.
How many people, thank you, Babe Laufenberg, have been wanted by Joe Gibbs and Bill Walsh?
Well, and I guess I had Jimmy Johnson here.
Jimmy Johnson.
I played for, played for some good coaches,
Yep.
that's for sure. And that's what I say. Troy had one team. I played for 4 NFL teams. So I tell Troy, only one team wanted you. I had 4 teams.
Yeah, they would
want me.
Yes, they were waiting.
I don't know how.
Yeah.
That argument holds up about as well as I can't believe Mendoza is getting drafted higher than I was drafted. But yeah, we'll tell you quickly. You guys have a minute?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So just the nature that the draft has changed. So I get drafted in 1983. It was a year of the quarterback, of course. But anyway, the draft was on Tuesday. It was Tuesday, Wednesday. There was no players didn't go up to New York or where, Pittsburgh in this case this year. But you just sat there and waited for a phone call, and you didn't have a cell phone, obviously. And the draft started at 8 a.m. on Tuesday. So I'm in my apartment in Bloomington. I got the olive green phone on the wall, right, with the long cord. And 8:01, the phone rings. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm the first pick in the draft. It's my sister. Babe, have you heard anything? I'm like, no, I haven't heard anything. Get off the phone, because you didn't have call waiting either.
Yeah,
So
no, you're right.
So that went on all morning about, you pick up the phone, you're thinking, hey, is this a team? Is this a team? And everybody just, hey, have you heard anything? It's like, no, I haven't. Get off the phone. So anyway, long and short, I went out and played golf that day, and I came back, and my brother was my agent. And so, I called him when I came back. I think I might have called him and said, hey, I'm just going out. I don't want to be picking up this phone all day. And, he came back and he told me Washington, had drafted me, and off I went.
Well,
things changed. How about this too? When I got there, guys, this was Tuesday, Wednesday draft. I had a mini camp that Friday, flew me out for the weekend and had a full mini camp with all the players. And as I walked into the locker room for the first time in an NFL locker room, there's an ashtray affixed to the end of each locker.
Wow.
And I was sitting there going, God, am I supposed to start smoking now that I'm in the NFL? Yeah.
Well, had a great journey. Your knowledge, you and Brad together, unbelievable. Christy Scales and the Cowboys broadcast. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you a lot. And thanks for being a part of the show again today.
Thank you, guys. And very quickly, the Live Like Luke hat that the name is Bob Wilson posted and at the Vatican. I was going to say, that's awesome. Say a prayer for Luke, and then say a prayer that Mendoza drops to 169 in the draft tomorrow, please.
Yep, thank you. Babe Laufenberg.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Yes, sir. And there's that hat that was at the Vatican and somebody took a picture of and sent it to Babe. We will be immediately joined by John Cooper from Our Lad's Guide to the NFL Draft. And John has been with us for the last several weeks leading up to. John, it is all but here in about 26 hours or so, everything will hit. Has anything, in your opinion, changed at all? Any movement that's legitimate, not just speculation?
You know what? I think we're getting maybe different intel. So there's some things, some thoughts, some speculation might have changed, but I don't think anything's changed. Anything's truly changed. The hay's in the barn, so to speak. It's just now making the picks, making decisions based on what happens, things of that nature. But I am feeling a draft.
Yeah, there you go.
How tired are you of talking about this draft and predicting what's going to happen? Like, how ready are you to just see where these guys land so you can kind of go from there?
I'm pretty ready. But I enjoy it too. I just spent 45 minutes with one of our other scouts, on a Zoom, and we were just talking about a podcast we're doing and just going over it and telling stories and stuff like that. So it's still fun. This time is fun, and the work's done. The hay's in the barn. It's time to see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. So it seemed like we've had the quarterback conversation. Mendoza's the 1-1, and then there's a drop off. We just don't know how large that drop is. And then there's like Ty Simpson, right? It does seem like there's a lot of maybe it's just the articles I'm coming across, but a lot of Garrett Nussmeier talk that I'm seeing, and even saw a little sprinkling of Carson Beck. I mean, does Nussmeier feel like kind of a guy because of the injuries and just not a very good year at LSU that maybe is flying under the radar a little bit, or is he very much on the radar in your opinion? And are he and Beck some guys that you think could, if the quarterback dominoes fall, that could maybe end up higher than people were anticipating?
Well, we have third round on those guys, both of them. And we think that's about right, because I think there's enough needs for some of these teams that they'll go with their needs in the second round. But I think a team like the Cardinals is most likely going to take a quarterback, whether they trade into the first round to take Ty Simpson, or whether they wait until their pick. Either way, I think they're going to take Ty Simpson. I think you got the Steelers are a threat to take a quarterback. If a quarterback of the future, if nothing else. So I could see Ty Simpson, Nussmeier being gone in the second round, or if Beck is the favored, quarterback of those, I could see those guys, going in the second round.
Does it feel like Nussmeier, maybe if last year goes differently, as a guy we're talking about differently, or is this kind of where he was going to be ultimately anyways, you think?
I think a second round would have been, first round could have been a grade on him, could have been if he had a better year. Going into the season, we liked him, we liked him a lot. We still, after watching a few games, Ty Simpson kind of jumped up there along with Mendoza. And but he's our third quarterback. So, where he ends up, how far down, we've got him quite a bit below as far as a grade is concerned than Simpson, but that doesn't really matter when it comes to quarterbacks.
I know we're discussing what happens in the next 3 days, but Craig earlier looked at the quarterbacks, if it all works out, of who would be available at this time next year. And my God, John, I know you probably have glanced ahead. If you have,
I'm worried about this year.
I know, but it's like 8 to 10. I mean, alphas that could be right there in the middle of it. Either some that are right now pretty good that just can't get in the draft, and some that are going to be really, really good. It looks like it's a massive group.
Yeah, it was a surprise too that kid from Oregon stayed in. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a good group. In fact, we were told that Ty Simpson came out because of that. He knew that this year he was planning on staying in another year. Then he saw that none of these guys are coming out. There isn't anybody else. There's going to be 8 of them next year, and so I'm coming out now. So that's exactly what happened. Nussmeier and Beck had to. So that's where, it's one of those things where Simpson could have stayed and played another year. So it's going to be great. It's going to be unbelievable. We're going to be talking about quarterbacks a lot.
Yeah, and
Arch Manning. You know about him, don't you?
Absolutely, a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody has read about him, heard about him, watched him play, and seen the difference between early last year and what he was at the end. Yep.
Oh yeah, no, it's got the potential, but as we know, John, like a year out, a lot of things change over the course of a year. Like the mock drafts from last year, I know there's still a lot of picks that hit, but there's also a lot that probably are not quite where you thought that they would
and
be.
There it's going to be that way Thursday too, all through the draft. I mean, we scratch our heads all the time, and so we've kind of decided. We know these teams put players in tiers and or clusters, whatever you want to call them, and those clusters can be really big as things go on. And there's always going to be a surprise or two and a trade or two that's going to change everything, in that first round. I think there's going to be a lot of action. So we decided we're not going to get offended. We're not going to hate ourselves for being so bad on the picks because it happens every year.
Right.
Well, a guy that we talked quite a bit about was Jordan Tyson, and I know you have him very highly ranked. Like he's not really, I think, been highly thought of, but there were some questions. Did he answer everything? I mean, it appears as though he's answered everything he's needed to answer at this point, especially in regards to maybe being a little bit on the unhealthy side as far as injury bugs and things like that. Is that all just kaput at this point after his workout a few days ago?
Well, the workout showed he's ready to go right now. He can play a game tomorrow. You know what I mean? That's what it showed. He caught he ran. All he did was run routes. We had a guy that was there one of our scouts was at the pro day. And he said he ran routes. He looked great. He's seen them all. He's been at a lot of ASU practices, and he's seen them a lot. He's seen him a lot. He likes him. He thinks he's a great receiver. We had him at the top of the pile, I'd say middle of the season. But, those injuries surface. He's had an ACL. He's had shoulder or elbow. I forget what it is, besides the hamstring issues. So he's had issues, and he didn't run a 40. He did not run a 40. He wanted to blow out his hamstring. I don't blame him. But he did do all the things a receiver has to do in terms of route running at that workout. So as far as being able to play right now, he's ready to go. The medical report that the teams are looking at, that's going to determine what's going to happen with him in the draft. If they say, you know what, there's just a little bit of risk with some of this stuff in terms of cropping up again, that, he may, slip because of that. But if they feel confident that, hey, he's just like a lot of guys, they got some nicks, but they're ready to go now, he's going to go higher than a lot of people think.
Is there usually a trend if a player struggles staying healthy in college that he'll struggle staying healthy in the NFL?
Well, it's a concern for sure. I don't know what the percentages are, but there's been, if you go back in history, there's been a lot of guys that have been hurt in college, got drafted anyway, and the same thing still happened in the pros. But yet there's also been a number of guys that have, had injuries, but, were very, productive NFL players and vice versa. So, it's kind of hard to measure. And I think it gets down to the analytics, the medical analytics. What are the percentages that this player with all his hamstring issues or whatever is going to be healthy, healthier than the average, or at least an average healthy player throughout his career. And the only injuries he's going to get are going to be the freak ones or the kinds that, are not preventable. So that's something they're going to look at. If he's got a chronic hamstring issue that's concern. If he's got a meniscus surgery, which could be, develop some problems later on, scar tissue and so on down the line, there's some concern there. If it's a clean ACL, not as much, even though ACL is so debilitating. So, those are the things that, that the teams are looking at with those. They're pouring over those medical reports right now. And you're going to see some guys drop out of the first round, I think, tomorrow that we thought were going to be in there because of some of that stuff.
What did you think of the Giants trade to now have the number 5 and number 10? I saw y'all's latest mock, and you had at number 5 Sonny Styles from Ohio State heading to New York, and then you had at number 10, and I hope to not butcher his name, but Olababa Vega Ione from Penn State.
You did much better than I could have.
Okay, good. Well, so that's where you guys think they're going there. But what did you think of that trade and kind of the changes it made, I guess, to what was otherwise?
Well, first of all, we don't necessarily think they're going there. They're pretty quiet in New York right now. John's got it really quiet right there. So we don't necessarily think that. That's what, if we were making the pick, that's what we do.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of the way we're looking at that. And we're not sure that's what's going to happen by any stretch of the imagination. As far as the trade is concerned, when John was in Baltimore, they traded Orlando Brown for a first-round pick because Orlando Brown wanted to play left tackle, and they had Ronnie Stanley. He got to play there for a year because Stanley was hurt, and but they're going to throw Stanley back in there. And Orlando says, "I want left tackle money. I want this. I want." They traded him to Kansas City, and they got, I think, the 31st pick in the draft or something late. For Orlando Brown. This year they trade a guy that's disgruntled and wants a new contract or whatnot, and they get pick number 10. To me, that's a great trade.
John, how much will it's, I think, 2 minutes shorter that teams now get? It's 8 minutes. I remember when it was 15. Then it was 10
minutes now? Was it 10 last year?
Starting in 2026, the time allowed for first-round picks has been reduced from 10 to 8 minutes. How much does that affect what's going to go on?
It just means that commercials are going to be longer.
It's always the answer, right? Yeah.
Although I think I'm not sure it'll have that much effect. These guys know what they're doing, and I think some of the they're going to listen on the phone. Some of these deals are going to have to be consummated a little quicker, but I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference. I'm actually glad to see that myself because.
Oh, me too.
Maybe there might be a few situations. I remember, years ago, some team got bypassed because they took too long. So I don't think that's going to happen. I think there's going to be some talk on trades. I think the Cardinals pick at 3 is going to be some people wanting that pick to get a certain defensive player. I could see. Maybe even the Giants, somebody wanting that number 5 pick, and the Giants trading down a few places, to get more picks because they need some help. I could see Tennessee possibly trading down some spots. It just depends on what people want, in terms of how that's going to go. So, but anyway, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, no, I cannot wait. I mean, it does feel like we've talked about it so much, and now it's just finally here, and it's so exciting. What do you think, John, is like the domino position? And what I mean by that is like this spot gets picked, and now everybody's like, oh, well, damn, we better go after offensive tackles because now it's started. Is there a position like that in this draft?
No, I think there's 2 of them, and the earliest one I think is going to be like that. It would be offensive tackles because there's a ton of them in the first, that are potentially first-round picks. So the guys that are generally the top-rated are right tackles for the most part. I think, Fano could probably play left tackle. I'm not sure he's going to be drafted to do that. Somebody might draft him as a guard because he's a very versatile player that can play all along the line. Maui Noah, he's a right tackle that could also be a guard. I think there's a bunch of teams, right in there, starting with the Giants, starting with even Kansas City, and starting with Cleveland that needs a tackle. I think the receivers may have a little more value, and I know Cleveland needs one of those guys. But I think once that run starts, whether it's with the Giants, with the guard Ione, or whether it's somebody else down the line with one of those tackles. But I think all those guys, Fano, Maui Noah, Lemieux, Frayling, Miller, Proctor, You know, they're going to come off the board and in due order, because I know the team like the Chargers, they could look to trade up because they want one of those guys, and they want them to be able to play inside, and they'd like versatility, like speed. With what McDaniel likes to play at guard, so that's going to be really interesting to see, you know, where these guys all go. But I think that's a run. And the second one is defensive tackle. I think starting at the bottom of the second round, we've got 6 guys graded that potentially are first/second round guys, and late first round for us. And I'm not sure how teams would stack them, because 3 of them are more like nose tackles and 3 of them are, you know, more your 3 techniques that maybe could play a 5 and a 3-4. And so depending upon what the team needs, you know, they could be stacked a lot differently. But I think there's going to be a run on those defensive tackles in maybe the late first round through the middle of the second round.
Last thing, and I know we asked earlier about, you kind of can't wait to get this thing underway, the Hayes in the barn, et cetera. What do you do when the last picks are taken on Saturday evening, even though there are undrafted free agents that will be signed, a bunch of them? Do you just get away from it all, or just go right back, dig it into depth charts and something else?
No, we like to look at the undrafted free agents, you know, where we like to see where they went. We like to compare, you know, where our, you know, the value, not so much where they went, because that's almost irrelevant, because, you know, we can say a guy is a, you know, fits, because, you know, we don't, up to me, we wouldn't even slot him, but everybody likes to see that. We'd put them in clusters like the teams do. But, you know, we like to see value-wise where our value was, how it fit with the value of the NFL team that selected that player. So that's something we like to take a look at. And then we like to take a look at who the free agents are. Because, you know, we put draftable grades on over 300 guys, and only 267 of them are going to get drafted. So we like to see where those guys all fit. You know, we've got about, you know, 900 guys in our database that we have at least prior free agent grades on. Some of them will be playing in the UFL next year. Some of them aren't going to get picked up. We like to see where those guys go. And then we kind of chart that all out. We put it in our review. There's a review that we have comes out in June. And that all that information is in the review. So that's what we're going to be working on.
Well, look forward to diving through even more of all this great information, John. I want to close it out with this. If you had to like put all your chips in the middle on one single guy that you just feel the best, like this guy is going to be a great NFL player, and you put everything on the line, who would that guy be in this draft?
That's a tough call. It really is. I mean, because, you know, I really love the quarterback, but I'm very biased, you know, in terms of the type of person he is, has got me sold on him. But, you know, as far as a defensive player, I really like Sonny Styles. And he's a unique player. So, you know, I like what he brings to the table as far as not just a linebacker. I think he's going to develop into a really good cover linebacker that you can use in multiple ways. I like him a lot. I also like, you know, Arvell Reese and David Bailey. I mean, those guys that are going to go to the top of the draft, I'll hang my hat on all those guys.
Thank you, John. We'll hang our hat on you and your expertise throughout the last several weeks. We always appreciate you leading us up, and then we'll get a summary at some point. So get a glass of water, stop that cough, and enjoy. Thank you, buddy.
Okay, you bet. And I'll be ready for the review. That's fun, too.
Yes, sir. John Cooper, again, with us, Our Lad's Guide to the NFL Draft.
I look forward to Washington Commanders, Sonny Styles.
Yeah,
it's going to be fun.
They're in a good spot where maybe even somebody pretty damn good, they should, and then maybe somebody drops a spot or two, and who knows what they can get out of it. Coming up.
See. Washington, actually, he has Caleb Downs. I'll take that, too.
I'll take any of those Ohio State guys.
That's fine with me.
When we come back, his name is Ryan Monso. He covers Houston. We'll look back at the Cougars spring football with GoCougs.com. That's next. This is 365 Sports. Allen Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, a huge selection of new and pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs ready to roll right now as they are closing out. Believe it or not, next Friday is May the 1st. Right now, the 2026 Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cabs, 2.9% for 72 months, plus $11,000 off. One 2025 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Tradesman available, $45,994 and tax, title, and license. There's the all-new 2026 Jeep Cherokee. Remember, I drove the 4x4. It was phenomenal. It feels like you're driving the nicest of SUVs because that's what Jeep has, and yet you feel like you have the toughness as well of driving a truck, or as far as the space, if you want to put a lot inside the back of that Jeep Cherokee. It was fantastic. Redesigned, total game changer in getting 37 miles per gallon. They are wrapping up the month of April. It will be done by next Thursday. They'll have new incentives and more that will pass along. Ted Teague, the general manager and CEO, David Gray, sales manager, and many others that are helping you or will help you get the car, truck, or SUV you want. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop, 340 and east of 84 in Waco.
It's in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
Join the celebration. It's 27 years for Richard Car Motors, and we're celebrating with big anniversary savings. The GMC Sierra delivers strength, power, and a refined interior loaded with premium comfort and technology. During Richard Car's 27th anniversary sale, find savings like $9,000 off all Sierra 1500 Pro and SLE models in stock. Thank you, Central Texas, for 27 years. Log on, call, or come by today to find big anniversary savings now.
Richard Car, they have the truck for you.
Pepperoni Magnifico. Pepperoni Magnifico. Marco's Pepperoni Magnifico. Classic and crispy cut pepperoni, 3 melty cheeses, all on our fresh made dough. And starting at just $12.99 for a large, it's no wonder Marco's was named America's favorite pizza chain.
This 4 o'clock hour is brought to you by Stonewood Dental, your one-stop shop for your dental needs, specializing in teeth cleaning, fillings, crowns, sealants, root canals, IV sedation, extractions, implants, bridges, dentures, full mouth restorations, and bioaesthetic dentistry. Our priority is your comfort from the moment you walk through the front door. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas. Now it's time for 365 Sports.
A lot of teams have wrapped up their spring football. Some do it this week as it can continue for a week or two. But the Cougars, Willie Fritz, who we had on just a few weeks ago, they have wrapped it up. And Ryan Monceau, GoCougs.com, joins us on the SMOAK Show in 365 Sports. Ryan, thanks for your time. They were really good last year. It took a huge jump last year. What, in your opinion, is a fair expectation of who they have back, who they're playing, of what can be expected this year?
I am low on expectations generally, but you have to like what they have coming into this 2026 season. Connor Wigman is back at quarterback. It'll be his second year in the system. He's never done that. He's never had an OC, a team. He's never been healthy for spring. It's been a while for him since high school. And so that's the key part. You've brought in transfers galore. Pretty much the entire starting lineup, save one defensive lineman and the punter, are transfers. The schedule works out really well. Oregon State, Southern in the non-conference. You have you go to Georgia Southern as well. And then you play Texas Tech early. You get them on a Friday night. They're coming back from Oregon State that week. It could be the right spot for U of H. If you're going to get Tech, get them on a short week, get them early in the season. But yeah, I think they love the spot that they're in right now.
Has Willie Fritz I'm curious, it's kind of off topic, but you mentioned the Friday night thing. They've had their fair share of Friday nights. They're about to have some more of them. Has he ever really commented specifically on playing those weeknight games? He seems like the kind of guy that wouldn't be all that bothered by it, but I'm not sure if I recall ever seeing really a quote about him about doing that.
He knows that you're going to have to do it in this conference. It's just part of the TV deal. You did it a couple times last year, one at home, one in Orlando. You went to TCU 2 years ago and had a game. You played on Thursday night. You played on Friday night. You came from a conference. Willie came from the same conference where you played, some Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday games. Mm-hmm. It's just one of those things that you learn to deal with, and they have embraced it and been pretty good on Friday night.
I saw that you did a feature, and a lot of people may have forgotten him, but we watched him in high school at Harker Heights, and Rashawn Sanford. He's had some issues that have been tough, have been knocked him out. And you just wonder after a while, is that ever going to change? But the story of him and how much he can contribute to this football team.
Yeah, I love Rashawn Sanford. Just a good guy. And that's what I root for. I root for guys, for stories. And Rashawn did a piece of content we published this morning. Was a day in the life for him during spring practice. Just everything that he goes through, special teams, in that running back room, class, and then the film, all the film that he watches on his own, as a team with special teams and everything. Just a remarkable guy. He's had 2 brutal knee injuries that have cost him 2 years. He's probably going to platoon with a guy named Mekhi Hughes, who was with Willie at Tulane, then went to Oregon for a year. And if Sean can stay healthy, he is a bowling ball and will do great. He also catches the ball great out of the backfield. I think that's what you're going to see in this offense quite a bit of, is running backs. Mekhi Hughes can do the same thing, coming out of that backfield and catching balls and trying to get downhill.
So I felt like, Connor Wegman found his groove. They played pretty well, but always was lacking a little bit of explosiveness at times offensively. Like, just didn't have a whole lot around him, I think would that be fair to say? Amari Thomas is a really good player. They've got Hughes coming in, as you mentioned. It just feels like there's more at Wegman's disposal this time around. Would you agree with that?
Yes. So in your 2 years with Willie, the first year they scored 14 points a game, second to last in the country. Last year, they doubled it to 28 points a game. Now you think that you actually have an offense that can score 35, 38 points a game. You brought in a tight end from UTSA, Patrick Overmeyer. And U of H is going to have a guy drafted probably second day, Tanner Kojal, just a phenomenal tight end for 1 year at U of H. Patrick Overmeyer is the next guy there. He's going to be really good. He's caught the ball very well in the spring, just running routes that you just don't think a tight end should run. Mm-hmm. And at receiver, they brought in a guy named Trent Walker. They played Oregon State in the third week last year, and Trent Walker had 127 yards on them. And so they went and got him in the portal. And so with Amari Thomas and Trent Walker, I think there's a guy that's going to be a sophomore. He's a transfer from Florida whose name is Moise Tunkara. I think he's going to be that third wide receiver come September 5th. And Connor has not had this at U of H. It's basically like he hit the lottery because it is so different than when he came here, 18 months ago.
Yeah. And I should say, Tanner Koziel he leaves some mighty big shoes there at the tight end position. I mean, I know Thomas was great, but yeah, Koziel, that's a big loss, but it just does feel like they just got a little more oomph around them despite a loss like Koziel there at tight end.
Yeah, for sure. They're very happy with where they're at. They're very happy. The offensive line has been a huge issue for years and years. Dana Holgerson kind of messed around with the offensive line, did not recruit it, did not bring in decent transfers, and this team suffered. And they have been trying to build through the high school ranks, but you've got to find guys for today. And they've gone out and done that. And they got two guys that they think can be all Big 12 type guys in the middle, in Chadre Hurst at left guard, and then Anthony Boswell at center. You're going to put an offensive line out there, for two guys from the MAC, a guy from Tulane, a guy from the Mountain West, and former Baylor lineman Alvin Ebiselli. So it's a piecemeal, but they think they finally hit on a group that's going to work for them.
So we've had Willie Fritz on. We've had Sean Bell and others on the show, and we've gotten to know Willie when he was at Tulane. We had him on. How would you describe not so much his personality, but how he handles a football team?
He is no nonsense, and he has come in, and it's been a complete 180 from what it was under Dana Holgerson. There was a lot of nonsense. Willie doesn't tolerate that. He's everything that I can see, and every player that I've talked to says he's built a relationship with them. And that's been the number one thing for him. Sean Bell's brother, Brian, is now the wide receivers coach. And Brian is out there. I swear he's recruiting 200 kids right now. Like every kid we talk to in the recruiting process says, I talked to Wes Fritz, who's the GM, Willie's son, or Brian Bell. And that's it. And they're just building relationships in a way that seems kind of second nature to college coaches, but U of H fans have not seen that in so long that it feels kind of new. Willie, he has been so easy for us to deal with. He's open practices. We get to go to every practice, spring, fall camp, summer, or during the season, 3 days a week. So he's made it very easy and accessible for us. We get to see a lot more, know more of this team. So it's a breath of fresh air.
So there is a really good quarterback in place right now, and there's no controversy about who the starter is, but there's that young man behind him, Keyshawn Henderson, who it's rare. A 5-star is actually going to sit and bake in the oven, so to speak, maybe for a little while. It's just we don't see that all the time anymore, but it's refreshing, and that speaks to their relationships and Michael Bishop and all those things. But just is like the feeling of like his time's coming kind of palpable around the program as far as like this guy, like it's not time yet, but it's going to be really fun when it is time.
Yeah, for sure. He came in at semester break. He actually was part of the team in the Texas Bowl when they changed the rules. He was one of those guys that got to go and be a part of that, at least, from the outside. And he has been embraced by this team. He's the number 2 quarterback. There's no question who number 1 is. He made some freshman mistakes in the spring, but I mean, he should be going to prom in 2 weeks. It's not what you expect from a guy. I think next year, when it is his program, he's going to shine. He gets rewarded. His first game will be against LSU at NRG or Reliant Stadium now. So we'll get to see. But I think they're going to put some packages in some games for him this year. I think you'll see him. But no, there's no quarterback controversy. And yes, it is odd for a 5-star to sit, especially at U of H. I can't ever think of that happening in the last 50 years.
if you could use like a scale of 1 to 10, I don't care what the number is, but we know that Houston is a professional sports town.
Mm-hmm.
We know that Houston basketball with Kelvin Sampson moves the needle. My God, I'm still like hurts that what happened a couple of years ago when they had that thing won against Florida. But where is Houston after they win 10 games? Is that ever going to actually get a little bit more as the daily routine of what people talk about or not?
It's really hard to get this city talking college sports.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
On a large scale. And if they do, it's A&M in Texas and then LSU. It's what it's always been. It's what it's always going to be. But you can carve out your spot. It's happened. It happened under Art Browson, Kevin Sumlin, and Tom Herman. It can happen. But you've got to play fun football, and you've got to have an athletics department that understands how to build events and not just have games. And you're never going to be more important than the Texans. And as long as you know that and know, okay, we've just got to build our own lane, you'll be fine. There's a lot of room to grow, clearly, but Kelvin Sampson has given you the blueprint. Willie Fritz looks like he is using that blueprint to build this football program. And, the proof will be in the pudding. I think you'll see attendance start to jump. I think things will look better, but it's not going to come quickly. It's going to have to be built.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it, Ryan. Good stuff.
All
Ryan
right.
Monceau,
Thank you so much.
GoCougs.com with us on 99% of it on Houston football. Willie Fritz in his third year after 10 wins from 4 to 10-3 last year for the Cougars in Houston. When we come back, the college football meetings are wrapping up in Dallas, the playoff meetings. We'll get to that.
Yeah, there's some good quotes.
There's
on
a
here.
couple of good quotes. We'll do that. We spent like forever off the top of the show because it's such a big topic. We'll do that and more. Thanks to Rez and Garrett Andrew today. Running the mothership, Craig Smoak. I'm David Smoak. The Smoke Show on 365 Sports, and back in a moment.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide. Affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
From the TFNB Your Bank for Life studio, this is 365 Sports. Presented by IdealMRI.com. Premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable. That's ideal. And by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. Now it's time for 365 Sports.
It is the Smoke Show. Greg and David Smoke, we appreciate your time. Rez, Garrett, and Andrew, I mentioned, doing what they do. Ross Dellinger with an update. We spent like the first 30 minutes of this show discussing how it looks inevitable that the college football playoff, like not in 2 or 3 or 4 years, but like the next jump they make would be to 24, with not just the Big Ten saying that. Here's a note from the meetings wrapping up in Dallas. For now, no decision made on changing language that determines the G6 auto bid. Current language grants the automatic qualifier to the highest-ranked G6 team as opposed to the highest-ranked G6 conference champion. Talks expected to continue.
Yeah, so like we were talking earlier, and how all this would work, the devil will be in the details, and I think that's ultimately what we need to see to really fully react. But I know just in general, you can have an opinion on 16, 24 and all that, but part of the devil of the details is that automatic qualifier. And so, yeah, this is notable for all of your quote unquote G6 teams out there. But yeah, no decision made on changing language. And the AQ goes to the highest ranked G6 team versus the highest ranked G6 champion, which you just read that. I'm just reiterating that there. But talks expected to continue, so that will be ongoing. But that is of note, especially for the fans out there of Washington State or James Madison, obviously a year ago, and various others have cracked through on the G6 side or hope to one day. So that's where, yeah, AQs would definitely be of interest, because without the AQs, how often is the G6 getting in to the playoff, whether it is 16 or 24?
No, I mean, there was a run there when it was 4 that they were locked out. They basically were blocked out.
Cincinnati was like this Cinderella story of just they were able to run the gamut, and the American was really hot at that time, thanks to Houston in part, and Tom Herman and Greg Ward, all those guys. But I think the G6 spot being up in the air is definitely one of those details that we need to know moving forward to kind of know how to feel about any type of new playoff structure. That's notable.
That team in 2001 by Cincinnati, they were 13-1. Their only loss, and I know we're going to move into what we're talking about today. 2021. Excuse me. Their only loss was in the game against Alabama, who, of course, was amazing. They ran the table, had a great offense, beat Notre Dame. That helped, of course, and just kind of were pretty good. Beat Houston in the conference championship game, but that was not a one-off, but they were really good to get in.
Well, maybe a one-off. That might be the only time Cincinnati makes the playoff. But then again, if we expand to 24, then they've got a great shot like everybody else to eventually find their way back into that thing. But yeah, that was a special year. An outlier for sure, and we're never going to see a 14 playoff ever again. So that was some history that since he was able to put together. Obviously, launched Luke Fickell to bigger things. I'm not sure better things at this point, but
yeah, he's got work to do at Wisconsin.
But yeah, that wasn't the only part. So there's the G6 part on the auto bids. And by the way, some other news that we can get to. A lot of contract news today. Kalen DeBoer at Alabama getting a new deal, but elsewhere, as far as no talk at the CFP meetings about any alteration to the weekly CFP ranking show on ESPN, according to Greg Sankey. So they did not discuss changing up how they do the CFP ranking show. Did we have like an overwhelming opinion yesterday, or did we have a certain angle that most people had, or was there not much of an opinion on the CFP format and how that should work? I mean, I'm of the opinion.
All over the place. It was really it was pretty all over the place. Today it's all about the numbers of teams to get in, but for the most part, yesterday it was a lot of different variety of people thinking one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for them not being able to massage the rankings as they see fit, and by eliminating, maybe starting as early as they do, they don't find themselves in this situation like they did with Miami and Notre Dame last year, where they backed themselves into a corner. And there's other examples along the way. They kind of put their foot in their mouth. So maybe eliminating the first couple of weeks and not going to it until the last couple of weeks would restrain them from forming narratives.
I think people wouldn't mind maybe the first show and then the last show. I think if you asked everybody, that would be it. That's what they'd want. Kind of go over the first one, show us, and then shut up, let them play, and then let's come out the last week.
Yeah, I could see where you set the table and then you let everybody just stew on that for like 3 weeks, and then you say, all right, here we go. But yeah, doing the week after week after week there at the end, I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's bettered the product. I don't think it's been good for the game. I think it's created, hell, almost solely by itself, 99% of the backlash and the fighting and the arguments over the entire format, I think, have been based around the committee and how they explain things and justify certain things and how they back themselves into corners or set narratives or whatever. But as far as that goes, no talk about the CFP alterations to the weekly show. So that's going to remain as is as of right now. The commissioners also discussed expansion for at least 90 minutes today on 16 teams versus 24. Notice that did not say 12, that they are talking strictly expansion here. And they talked about that for 90 minutes. Greg Sankey, according to Ross Dellinger, reiterated his past comments supporting CFP expansion to 16 teams. And then also went on to say on the future of the SEC championship game, in light of, we've seen some others from the SEC kind of talk about what they would like to see. So in light of some of those membership comments, he said, we have contracts. Opinions are expressed, but we have contracts, so we have a championship game. So that's an easy way to shut that down, is we have a contract until we don't.
Yeah, some coaches, of course, wondering if should we do it because they now play 9 conference games like other conferences has. Not everybody. They're not the only one at 8 ACC. But if you got 2-3 years left, you're getting a lot of money for that game. They're the ones that began the conference championship idea, and they were so far ahead of the game.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the history of the SEC, is being ahead of the curve in some ways and some ideas. And yeah, the conference championship game has absolutely got their stamp all over it. So it's a contract thing as of right now, but that's not going to go anywhere. The conversation, I do think, and I don't know how much you've explored the play-in ideas. There's some cool ideas out there. You can also see where it's like, how long is this season going to take to finish? Or like it's not, nothing's perfect. I don't think there's a perfect format for it, but it is intriguing. And if you watched, and I know the NBA just in general can be a turnoff for some people out there, but the play-ins, as gimmicky as they are, and it's a different sport with a different setup. It's 2 conferences that are all aligned under one roof versus all these independent kind of acting conferences. But there is a lot of drama and intrigue that's added to what otherwise would not have a lot of drama and intrigue. If you're just the 8th seed because that's where you finish, and instead you've got 9 playing 8 for who gets to go play the next team in the next round. And that's kind of fun.
If it goes to 24.
I don't know. I'm saying in general, playing games, as far as that's the alternative idea to conference championship games.
To me, if you do 24, initially, this is doing a bracket. You have 16 teams in the first round. 8 of them survive, and they play the 8 that got a bye week. If they do that, or you're doing it so you want more money, more games, then you let them all have it.
No, I think you misunderstand that the play-in games are not part of the playoff. They're part of the conference title.
Yeah, I saw that. The Big Ten, and I've seen that.
That's the whole conversation.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to work, but pretty cool idea, I guess.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is like there's some cool ideas, and there's different ways you can do it. I've seen, And I don't know who to properly attribute to each idea because there's been multiple ideas and multiple people, but how would you have like 1, 2, and they're both just guaranteed to get in like they would be in the SEC or Big Ten especially, and then you have 3, 6, 4, 5 all in the same weekend. And there's other ways that it could be done, but yeah, that would affect conference championship weekend. Play-in games aren't necessarily, we're not thinking like March Madness where you have that necessarily. It would be more like as a replacement for conference championship weekend. So I'm interested to see where that kind of conversation heads. But for right now, SEC's got a contract for a conference title game. So that's the answer to that. Meanwhile, Rich Clark, CFP director, said expansion discussions today were healthy, but he's uncertain that an agreement will be reached by December 1st, which is the deadline to change things in order to have this ready for 2027. And he said, and Ross quoted him and added, interesting comment from him, but the quote was, "The regular season is king." So that's from Rich Clark. And I do wonder how much that gets brought up in these conversations of like, okay, we can do 24. We can do play-in games on conference title weekend, and we can gimmick this thing up, and it might be kind of cool. But we all know, all of us who paid attention long enough, unless you just became a college football fan in the last couple of years and you just know a whole different world than all of us who are like 30 and above, the regular season's got to matter.
No. I saw a lot of people, conference commissioners, coaches, whatever, protect the regular season.
Yeah.
Protect it. And like the Texas-Ohio State game, Michigan-Oklahoma early on, those games have to have, like you get bonus points, but you also, because you're playing that game, it should matter. If you win it, that's even more so.
Yeah, there needs to be stakes.
You can't let those games not mean much.
We've lowered the stakes already by if you lost to Oklahoma and Dallas, if you were Texas, you had like maybe another mulligan. And in the expanded playoff, it's different because now a 9-3 Texas has an argument, right? They have a case that can be made depending on who they played in the non-con and the SEC schedule and all of that. So I do think we've seen the regular season get watered down to some degree, but like how much can you water it down before you drown it? And it's not special and it's not king. And then all of a sudden you're just entirely, all of a sudden you're the NBA where the hardcores are, there's some that will care enough that they don't mind it. But I think it would turn a lot of people off if you just basically built everything around this playoff. So yeah, that's Rich Clark saying regular season is king. I think that's an important comment because that's like the basis of all this talk is, hey, do whatever you want, but don't ruin the regular season. Like go to 18, go to 20, 22, 24, but don't ruin the regular season. No. And they're playing with fire a little bit as far as that goes because not quite every game means exactly as much as it did. It's still on the side of more where it was than not, but they are playing with fire the more that they try to make room for, an 8-4 team just jumps in there. Well, then, yeah, the regular season really doesn't mean that much. And that's where they're towing the line right now, I feel like.
Yeah, they got to be careful. I think like, for example, when Roger Wallace was on with us, does color for UT football, he was talking about UT, the SEC, because they weren't real, like, enamored with the games they were getting in the Big 12. I get that. And Texas OU were the biggest brands. But you cannot let those games not matter. I know I enjoy the end of the year, like bangers in late November, Thanksgiving, whatever. But man, I love those early, now they'll be August and September, those early non-conference cross-country or even regional rivalries. Those are the ones that get my juice going.
Yeah, and they may not have like all the stakes on them in week 2, but it still feels like it's a big deal and the result matters. And the more you just open the field to more and more teams where you can have 3-4 losses, well, then all of a sudden losing to Oklahoma or losing to Texas or losing to Ohio State. I mean, there might be a scenario where at the end of the year, the game is for a playoff spot still in some years, but there also could be years where Michigan's already got 3 losses and they're in no matter what. And Ohio State, like they're in no matter what. And it's just, I mean, you still like that would still be heated because it's still Michigan, Ohio State. You still have great ratings and people will still very much care. So maybe that's not the best example, but I do think that like you need, and that's why people are intrigued by the play-in game because it gives you that sudden death factor of
Yep.
you have to win or you go home, and that's what's intriguing about it. And that's how the regular season in college football used to feel like every single week. You could have one mulligan depending on who you are, but you could not really have two. Now they've opened the door to where you can have a couple of them. You go to 24, now you can have like 3 of them. And then how many teams are going to be like, I mean, now 9-3 is like a bottom level,
You have
but it gets
3
you
of
the playoff.
them if you are somebody.
Yeah. So anyways, the regular season is king comment. I think that's the best thing that we could have seen as college football fans today from Rich Clark. No other decisions made, but they are discussing a lot, as I mentioned. And yeah, the regular season is king. That's good to hear from the director of the CFP, because sometimes you wonder how tapped in they are to like the real college football fans. And that's clearly he's been on Reddit. He's been on Twitter. He's seen the conversations to make a comment like that, or he's just a fan himself, which is even better.
He knows what's going on. By the way, Kyle Visser in the chat go, hey, Smokey, let Craig know. We know he never gets in the chat, but that we love the smoke break. The segment was spot on. So there we are with that. I need to update everybody, and we take a break for the top of the hour and then towards the end. Yesterday in the chat room, there was a lot of discussion about these point totals, and I didn't know what it was. And there's some things that we have available that all of a sudden you discover, but I did talk to Andrew. There's this point thing that is up, and it's based on your messages or whatever. I don't know what the rhyme or reason. You win nothing out of it other than you stroke your ego. So I wanted to pass it along from Andrew.
Well, that's enough for some people. And just to have the top points earned. And as far as I don't know that you or I are the best to explain how all that works.
No.
I'm sure there's people in chat that can clarify for everybody else kind of wondering how all that operates. But yeah, I maybe we shout out the person so long as it doesn't become like bad attention, but like shout out whoever ends up with the most points at the end of the show or something like that for being involved in chat. Maybe that's something we incorporate there. And I appreciate the comment on the smoke breaks. Had a conversation about those today, actually, and it's mostly college football, but now it's also branched out where I talked a little bit about the Liv story last week and a little bit about not WrestleMania as a whole, but just the Brock Lesnar story in particular. And I'm going to hopefully have that in more of a rhythm as far as dropping specific days each week. So for those who have enjoyed those, I appreciate it. And the one I did here recently that I think's out there is just making predictions on the 2027 quarterback class, what could be next year, which if you missed out on that conversation earlier is just absolute insanity of like, if everybody that could declared, you'd have like 15 guys that could make arguments as like top couple round picks, if not like 10 guys as possible first rounders. Now it won't work out that way because I do make predictions on guys that I think are going to stay another year to simply just make money and not be in a crowded field like that. But that's another smoke break that's out there. So I appreciate the kind comments.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And Rez, chat room saying, you're doing great. Appreciate what you do. Of course, Garrett was here. He just left. He does a lot of shows, including ones in the morning and then also early afternoon. And Andrew's back from a 2-day illness, and he's putting up what will be the end of the show. Got a couple other things to get to. We will in the 5 o'clock hour. We do appreciate your time every day. This is the Smoke Show on 365 Sports. And, QC Kinetics, man, I didn't know. When I went to go see them in September, I had heard from a good friend of mine that does radio in Dallas, RJ Choppy, that it helped him where his elbows were so bad that he couldn't squeeze a water bottle and like pop the top off. Like, for example, like right here, just he couldn't do it. They were just like, it hurt when he played golf, when he hit the golf ball, irons or whatever, it hurt. I heard him discussing and also discussing what QC Kinetics has meant to him. Offices in Dallas and Houston. I'll tell you what it's meant to me. And I hope it can mean this to you. I know it can. If you have had various injections, steroid injections, whether it's your back, your shoulders, your knees, whatever joints, and it just kicks the can down the road, QC Kinetics wants to get rid of that can. They want to get rid of your pain. QC Kinetics in both Dallas and Houston, the number's 972-972-8610 and 713-913-5285. I went for a consultation free. And the next thing you know, I had a treatment that day. Made sense. I said, what? I need to try this because all of a sudden there was chatter about surgery. Didn't want to go there. And I'm not. And QC Kinetics takes what's inside your body, natural biologics with platelets, plasma, stem cells, spin it, put it back inside your body, and it works. I'm running again, not a lot, but more than I did for 5 years, and I don't have the pain when I even get out of bed. I want you to try it. If you haven't, at least it's a free consultation at qckinetics.com. It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Declaration of Deals is at Allen Samuels in Waco. Get $11,000 off a new Ram 1500 Lone Star, plus 2.9% for 72 months. And America's best full-size truck powertrain 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty at Allen Samuels in Waco.
This 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ben Erlinson and Brad Wilson in Waco, and Cam Heathcott in Conroe, with an individualized approach to addressing your financial needs, including education, savings, planning for retirement, and protection strategies. Edward Jones Financial Advisors, making sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Now it's time for 365 Sports.
I was supposed to interview Neil Brown of North Texas earlier today. He had a flight that got moved up, so it's going to be tomorrow. We'll have Bruce Feldman tomorrow, and we'll also have David Ubben tomorrow. So a nice group of guests tomorrow on the Smoke Show in 365 Sports.
Yeah, we'll have a lot of college football news to talk about in the playoff discussion, certainly with Bruce and with David. But yeah, Neil Brown, I'm very intrigued by his hire there in Denton. I mean, Eric Morris did an incredible job there, leaves him with a nice little runway, although he kind of did and then kind of didn't because he kind of took like all the planes with him. So I think Neil's got to like find a plane to use on the nice runway because all those guys are now in Stillwater.
Yep.
But the program's in good shape. Eric Morris did a great job, and I think Neil Brown was a solid hire by UNT to replace him.
One of the things I was told, because I was going to record him this morning, was that he does not want to hear the word rebuild. He wants to use the word reload.
I think that's smart. Yeah.
So that's something for tomorrow. We'll have that for tomorrow.
I think like they definitely have to. I mean, if you were to use the word rebuild the roster, I don't think that's unfair in any way, but I can see where that's just a negative term that he would rather not use because then it can just be an excuse right away and very easily. So, yeah, I mean, no Mestamaker, no Wyatt Young, Caleb Hawkins and all the rest. But it's a great job, and I think he'll do well with it after having a little bit of a break from West Virginia and getting to kind of just hang around Sark there for a while and see how things were down in Austin, and I think that'll serve him well.
All right, so here are a couple more stories to get to. We do appreciate your time. One of them is Wilson Alexander writes for On3 and did a story on LSU general manager Billy Glasscock. Here is a quote from him, and this is on how do they manage their budget and how do they tier players, etc. The guy who backs up for us, the fifth corner for us, is going to get 3 times the amount of money if he goes to an ACC school. His agent goes, you're not even paying him market value. No. He's a fifth cornerback for me. This is from Glasscock. I can't pay the fifth corner what I'm paying my starter. Well, you're not paying him market value. No, the market is incorrect. Those teams aren't us. Our backups are their best players. Of course, they're going to pay them that. They have their money to spend too.
I mean, that just seems kind of logical. I mean, if he's your fifth quarterback, why would you pay him CB1 or CB2 money? So, yeah, if you want the CB1 or CB2 money, then go to North Carolina State or to Virginia Tech or somewhere else. But, LSU, I think even with all the money in the world at their disposal, which it seems like they kind of have, that, you're not going to be paying the fifth corner who's not seeing a whole lot of playing time like he's a guy starting every game for you. So that's just business sense, common sense. And I think it just sort of speaks to where agents and players' heads are now, where it's like, but no, I play for LSU. Like, where's my bag? And I'm really good. It's like, yeah, but you're not even our top four cornerbacks. And yeah, the bag's not for you just yet, young man. So if you want the bag, you're going to have to go be a higher rated player on the depth chart somewhere else. But if you do grind and you get to that CB1, CB2, CB3 even, or cornerback 4 maybe, I'm sure you're still making out pretty good at LSU because that is a staple of theirs. But yeah, I think it's interesting to kind of hear these GMs talk about the ins and outs of this on occasion. As much as we get money whipped by all of it, it is interesting to kind of hear what's being talked about behind the scenes, because for a long time it was super murky, and even now it's still murky in some cases. You hear all these people talk about, oh, it's not really what we spent, and then they don't want to say how much they spent, and then sometimes they do, but it's like 2 years after the fact. I just saw Signetti talking about their roster and the number that they spent, and he was denouncing reports of how much they actually paid. And so who the heck knows? But yeah, that right there, that's just common sense.
Did you see the note where he told those around him on the invitations to go speak here and there and all the others he would do to eliminate 95% of it? He wants to still coach football, doesn't want to get ahead of himself. And he will he's going to go to the Indianapolis 500. Of course you should do that. But all the other that he pretty much is not going to fall into that pit of doing speaking engagements, getting paid for a lot of it. He wants to stay focused on coaching football, which is what he's getting paid for, but not to get caught up on whatever they call the cocktail tour, so the dinners and all that.
I mean, he'll still have to do a lot of that to raise money for that roster, but that'll be easier than ever before now with a natty in tow. And yeah, I think he's a football guy, and he's definitely good with the media, a charming in his own unique way type of guy.
I agree.
But I also, I think that would be a real shame to see him fall into the trappings of celebrity, because now he's a natty winning head coach. So I think he's about ball like Saban and all the similar names that you would want to mention along that line. Yeah, let's get back to football. I mean, that's why you got that celebrity to begin with.
All back to, and then we move on to some basketball news. But Andy Staples had a really good note after the Billy Glasscock, the image or the quote. This quote right here is why it's going to be really hard to stack talent. Markets find their level. That's why before all this started, Alabama's fourth-string tight end, or whoever's fourth-string tight end among about 10 or 12 teams, were better than like 90% of the other people who start. And that's going to be more difficult because people find places to go get their money.
I feel like that's been kind of said and hammered home, especially post Saban, that he was able to just tuck away talent. And not to say that guys didn't transfer from Alabama or that they didn't transfer from other places to Alabama, but pre-portal, you could stock away guys. I mean, imagine what Sark's already got a really great quarterback room anyways, but like imagine if it was the old days where you didn't have to worry about anything but a one-time transfer. You didn't have guys in your QB2's DMs offering them 7 figures to come be the new quarterback in North Carolina or whatever. Those days are dead and over, and guys want to play. Guys want to make money, and they want to play. And it's, I guess, up to the individual of kind of how they go about doing that. But, if you're back up on any roster right now, even at LSU, then if you want that big money, you need to be a starter, or you need to be like the 5-star freshman quarterback who's just waiting his turn, that everybody knows that, hey, it's worth the wait here. But for everybody else, yeah, they chase the money and they chase the playing time, and that's understandable.
Back in the and I'm going to say the 60s, Darrell Royal, before that, Bud Wilkinson, and some of those, Bear Bryant, etc., they were able to stack their own rosters because, first of all, they would have 200 guys on there to keep them from going to play against them and play for perhaps their rivals. And that was the thing, and you could do it, and there was nothing wrong with it, but that's kind of the way it worked.
Yeah, I don't know how those guys would have fared in this day and age. I mean, we can kind of sense that Saban was making his own decisions, but also being nudged out the door a little bit as far as nobody telling him to go away. But I think him looking in the mirror and going, this is not the college football.
Right.
That was my bread and butter. And I don't think it would have worked out for a lot of those guys. And they also got to treat players a different way back in the day. And for a while, there was only certain types of players allowed on rosters.
Can you imagine the Junction Boys?
I mean, like that, none of that stuff would ever fly. So times change, and times are very unique and different now. And you can't just traditionally recruit and just have guys wait their turn anymore. That's not how it goes, especially at premier positions. So if you're hoping to just ride a bench and make big money because you're at a big school, well, this is not how it works. You're unless you're like the 5-star freshman quarterback where that's kind of expected. But for everybody else, I think that the combination of money and playing time is what everybody's after, no matter what logo they're wearing.
All right, so let's do some basketball. This is Tunde Yesufu. Pretty good player, freshman from Baylor, who entered his name into the NBA draft, is now, remember last night, the midnight deadline to enter the transfer portal. Because if you do enter the draft, you may not get the kind of news you want or your agent wants, and so you can still play college basketball. And this was, I think, expected. This is Ashley Hodge, who covers men's basketball for Baylor, does a great job. Traded a text or two with him. So he has entered the portal, 18 points and 6 rebounds a game. If he does play men's basketball next year, the odds are it's going to be, according to Ashley, USC or UCLA. It would not be going back to Baylor. Those two teams are the ones who are 1A and 1B for his, at least it looks like, destination.
Well, I was looking up where he's from. He's from Benin, so he's from Africa originally. And I wonder what the allure of Los Angeles is. I don't know his backstory well enough, if he's got like a history or family in Los Angeles. But you said USC and UCLA. He's zeroed in.
Yeah, he's out. Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe that was part of his journey, and I just don't know his history well enough.
Well, he played high school ball in California.
Oh, it's okay. Well, there it is. There you go. Yeah. I don't know.
McDonald's All-American, all that stuff. He was born, as you mentioned, overseas.
For the new viewers, basketball is not like my bread and butter. I stick mostly to football. But, yeah, okay, then that makes sense. He'd want to get back to the West Coast and get paid probably pretty handsomely to do so. I know he was a pretty good player last year. You'd be more well-versed to talk about the loss that it is for Scott Drew. But I guess, I don't know, is that disappointing or just expected?
I think that when the season ended, and of course they had Carr, who's going to be in the draft, and they did sign the freshman sophomore point guard. But yeah, I think this was one that they expected that he would enter the draft, but if not, that he was going to have some really good offers. Not that Baylor can't pay him well, but it appears he's going to go closer to home, and USC and UCLA are at least on the clock.
Yeah, well, good for him. I mean, good luck to him. I'm sure he's going to get paid pretty well. And, yeah, I guess take your pick, Trojans or Bruins, which one works out best for you. But, yeah, good luck to him. I mean, the transfer portal for me, it's like I said, basketball is not like my bread and butter. I mean, we talk about it and everything. I keep track of stuff. I'm just not as in the weeds on it like I am with college football. It does seem like that transfer portal kind of came and went in basketball, right? Like there's this mad scramble and mad dash to sign guys. And then it's like, oh, it's still going on. Like you almost it's closing, but there's still some guys out there waiting around. So hopefully he doesn't take too long to find his spot and get to work, but heard nothing but good things about him. So good luck.
We have seen players, and this is back-to-back on Baylor, but it's because it's timely. VJ Edgecombe, who was really good at Baylor, he was not like take over a team, but he was really good at Baylor. became the youngest player in NBA history to score 30-plus points and have 10-plus rebounds in a postseason game as they won in Boston against the Celtics. And VJ Edgecombe, he and Keontae George and a couple of others, the one-and-dones who were good in college, have been better because the game is more open, and the pace of play and spacing have been fantastic in the NBA.
Yeah, they have a weird dynamic where they won a national title, only national title, and did so with a combination of like veterans and transfers, and veteran transfers like Davion Mitchell and
Jared Butler.
They transcended into
Maceo Teague, yep.
a McDonald's All-American factory basically the last few years. I mean, Davion Mitchell was a high draft pick, but they didn't really have like a routine. And now these last like 3-4 years, kind of going back to him actually, and a couple of others, they've had this run of first rounders like Keontae George, like VJ Edgecombe, lottery pick type guys. And yeah, they're burgeoning young stars. And VJ Edgecombe had an all-timer performance against the Celtics, as you mentioned, 30 points, 10 rebounds, first by a rookie since Tim Duncan in 1998. Imagine that you're breaking 30-year-old records, or just they're about 30-year-old records, and it's not just some random dude like, hey, Tom Jones did this in 1998. It's like, no, Tim Duncan was the last guy to do this. Yeah. Edgecombe, also youngest player to put up those numbers in NBA postseason history, surpassing previous record holder Magic Johnson. So Tim Duncan and Magic Johnson was the air he was rolling around in last night. So, yeah, he's a sensational young player. Him and Maxey are a great core for the Sixers, and I think VJ's got a really nice NBA career ahead of him, just like Keontae George does. But if you ask, I would think, and I'm sure this applies to other programs as well. I know it definitely applies to at least Baylor fans in this example. But, hey, all these draft picks are cool, but we want to win like college basketball games now.
You want to have a mix.
You want to have a balance. North Carolina's got a balance, or Duke's got a balance, or whatever. But it's really hard to have a balance. And so they've done it with a wise and veteran, hardened, like melted in the fire together, kind of like a unexpected rise. And then they had that success. And now it's been like big superstar, big superstar, big superstar. But the team part of it hasn't been where it was. And so that is a delicate balance to try and strike. But they've got better NBA talent than they've ever had. They just maybe aren't winning at the college level as much as people want.
I think Yesufu will end up playing college one more year. Carr was at Tennessee, really good, but then eventually Baylor, and he'll be drafted. They also got a kid from Yale, Isaac Salazar, who averaged 13 points a game. They have to get some players. They have been able to pick up 5 or 6 transfers. Here are the names of the players who will be in Pittsburgh for the NFL draft. As you see the names, thank you, Rez. David Bailey, Ruben Bain. Now, remember, Mendoza is going to hang out down in Florida, his mother and the family and all of that. So Bain, there's Mansour Delane from LSU, Caleb Downs and Falk, Hood, Makai Lemon, and then on and on. Jeremiah Love, Notre Dame, then McGoy, from Miami. And then you have McDonald, Proctor, Reese, Simpson, Styles, Carnell, Tate. I keep saying that, the former Steelers player. The Oregon State defensive back, and Jordan Tyson from Arizona State.
You scared to say Tiananmen?
Yeah, no, Tiananmen, I don't like that. It reminds me of that showdown back
he's
in the day.
He's not from Oregon State. He's from Oregon. So that's incorrect. But, nevertheless, that's the guys that have been widely talked about. Like you said, Mendoza's not there. Off the top of my head, I don't know who else would be missing. Is Sonny Styles on there? Oh, yeah, he is. I see him now in that second one. But yeah, I'm sure that's a cool experience. I'm totally on board with Mendoza though, and just saying, hey, I know there's reasons, like as far as his mother having to travel with all her health issues and how difficult that can be. So that alone makes enough sense. But I think also just, hang out at home and enjoy it with your people down in Miami and soak that all up, because right after you're going to be put on a plane. And that, I think that was the other thing he mentioned in an interview I saw of his was, like all the effort to get particularly his mom, but the whole family to the draft and do all that. And then like as soon as he gets picked, and he's getting to get picked first overall, then it's off to like the rounds and rounds of interviews. And then the next day he's got to go to Las Vegas and start the whole process of being a Raider. And it just wasn't worth it to like do all that travel to Pittsburgh to then just turn around and have him go to Vegas. So yeah, that makes sense. One more night at home before the NFL career starts and enjoy it with your people. I think that's smart. But the green room, that would be hard to turn down if you were in those shoes. And a lot of guys have fun with the outfits and everything. So looking forward to seeing all the fashion and everything that comes with the atmosphere coming up tomorrow. Tomorrow. Cannot wait.
So there'll be a few quarterbacks, even though there doesn't seem to be too many. High Mendoza, obviously Ty Simpson and a few others. Nussmeier, from what we've heard, of course, others. Which college teams have produced the most quarterbacks drafted all time? This is a nice little list, right? Nice and clean and cozy. These are the schools with 10 or more quarterbacks who have been drafted. At USC at the top, it did not surprise me at all. Ohio State at times maybe you have to think about a few of the others. Stanford, when you think of Elway and Plunkett, among others. Andrew Luck. There's Florida State, Washington, Alabama, Notre Dame, Michigan, California, and Georgia. California, Aaron Rodgers' name comes to mind among some others, but there you go, the most quarterbacks drafted all time.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean that's cool to see that. I'm trying to think of who will be affected really this year.
Well,
nobody.
No. Alabama was Simpson.
Oh yeah, of course. But nobody else besides that.
Ohio's,
I mean,
no.
Nobody else is going to have one.
All the other ones are youngins.
But next year, going back to what I said earlier.
But how do you know who they belong to if they've transferred 2 or 3 times?
You don't get credit for both schools.
Okay.
So, no. Cal doesn't get credit for, I mean, you can make an argument that they should. And that's
for Mendoza?
Something that I wondered about. But yeah, I think you acknowledge Mendoza, but I don't think you get credit for Mendoza. As far as the NFL draft goes, it's where you ended up, right? So
I think it's where your last camp, wherever you were last before you leave for the pro level.
Yeah, I think unfortunately Cal gets robbed of that distinction of having the 1-1 guy, so they won't be able to add to that. But that's part of what the transfer portal created, was just messiness as far as records and where guys are from and who they claim and all of those different types of things. But on my own set of rules, then Indiana's about to add a name to this list. But as we talked about with Babe, it's been few and far between for them. But I mean, next year, Jade Mayava will add to this for USC. Julian Sayin could add to this for Ohio State or not. Damon Williams at Washington. I actually made a prediction about him specifically in that video I talked about earlier.
CJ Carr
for sure. If he wants to come out, he doesn't have to. He could stay another year. I made a prediction about him actually as well. Bryce
Underwood has to
Underwood
stay another year.
Yeah, he's got another year, and he did not have a good spring game. That was a big topic, but I'm not going to overreact to that too much. Cal's got JKS coming down the pipeline, but he can't declare just yet.
Say his name.
Jaron Kiave Sangapolutele.
Yeah, I just wanted, I know. Now tell me too, and let's go straight to Georgia at 10, and Beck won't count for them if he's drafted. It'd be Miami.
No, he won't count. No, absolutely not. Yeah, nor should he. So Gunnar Stockton, when the time comes for him, we'll add to this list. But nobody but Alabama will be adding to that this year. It's cool to see kind of the all-timer. But again, it's like a lot of other all-timer stuff. It's like, hey, what do you think is the teams in this all fill in the blank ranking? Well, let me see. USC, Ohio State, Texas, Oklahoma. Give me like 5 guesses. I'll have half of them because it's like the same schools every time. But there are some wild cards in here. Like Stanford, I wouldn't have guessed them all the way up at 3.
I would have only. I know I can't name all of them, but with Plunkett, Luck, Elway, and there's a few others. But I would have. It didn't surprise me when I saw their name on the list. Let's put it that way. All right, now, one more thing. The number 57 pick in the draft, this is a Heinz 57 promotion with Devin Hester, the Hall of Famer, welcomes Mr. 57 to the NFL draft, awarding a custom jacket, ketchup for life, and a partnership will be the pick number 57 from this point forward.
Well, Heinz, thanks you for the free advertising. Not that they needed it, but that's a cool
it's my
gimmick.
favorite. If it would have been somebody else, I wouldn't have mentioned it. I would have been very, very personal there.
I'm a Heinz guy as well. I wonder if there's any beef with the Hunt family over their ketchup, but yeah, I'm definitely more of a Heinz guy, and yeah, that's cool. I mean, if there is anything I am not looking forward to, it is all the insane. Like some of it's good, it's charity and it's wounded warriors, or it's this kid survived this horrific ordeal and they're doing great now and they're the face of a children's charity. Like there's some good stuff like that, but I have noticed, like a lot of other products, the NFL draft over the last few years, they get very bogged down in like the special guest announcer who's then, introducing other people, and like the picks almost take a back seat, especially starting in like day 2. Not so much tomorrow night, but yeah, like for example, number 57, that's going to be one of many kind of not gimmicky, but just sort of picks that probably have something attached to them. But round 1, we don't really have that. So I cannot wait. I know we got one more show to talk about it, but yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
We will, Rez. If you don't come out and chokehold me, if we don't get to the Field Yates list, we've had it up for you, for us, for 2 weeks, and you've had it.
We can do that on Friday when it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah. Now, Paxton put up a bunch of question marks, and then we go to the ending on Stanford and quarterbacks. So go ahead.
I go ahead with what?
That Stanford had 17 quarterbacks drafted, and he was like, Stanford? Yeah. They've had 17 quarterbacks, including the ones we've mentioned, like Elway, Luck, Plunkett, and others. There was one other guy who was really smooth. I can't believe.
You can just look it up here.
Yeah, I'm that's what I'm doing. Going back too far, but other quarterbacks that are drafted include Trent Edwards, pretty decent player in college, obviously. Randy Fasani, he was pretty good. Not a whole household name. Todd Cusick was another one. Steve Stenstrom, another one. I remember these names only because I'm old. And then there's, let's see, John Pay.
There's a lot of guys who are not very big names. They got a lot of guys drafted.
Turk Schonert, Steve
like
Dills. That's the guy that was head of Babe Laufenberg that forced him to go to Stanford to Indiana. Steve Dills.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that it's a lot longer of a list than I thought as well. But outside of like Elway, Luck, and like Trent Edwards and a couple of other guys, it's a bunch of names that I don't recognize very much. But they've had a lot of guys drafted. Like they've had a lot. They're surprising, like we said, surprising to see them that high up on the quarterback.
You mean you don't want me to bring up Dick Horn? All right, here are the last.
I guess
we're rolling it to the end. This is the wheel.
So here's the question today. What's something you enjoyed the internet took from you? For example, videotape stores or the shopping mall?
Wow.
Yeah, the shopping. I mean, both actually. A lot of great Blockbuster video memories. So yeah, I don't think about that very much, but now that I do think about it, there's some nostalgia there. And yeah, shopping mall as well. So you kind of planted the seed in my brain to already answer this with the examples given. But yeah, those would be 2 examples. If I thought long enough and hard enough about it, those would definitely be 2 examples. And I think too, of just the ability to just be disconnected. Like I can just stay off Twitter, which is mostly what I do, but just that you can't be reached out to at any given moment like you can nowadays. Like you can't. I didn't see that. Like, well, I texted you, I called you, I tweeted you, I Instagram DM'd you, I Facebook DM'd you. Like, there's so many ways you can be found, or people can seek you out. But yeah, back in the days, didn't answer the phone. That was about all there was to it.
You had a phone at the house, and sometimes you didn't even have an answering machine. So yeah. All right. And by the way, this group, there's a lot of people at 365 Sports and the Smoke Show and et cetera. There's some that put that notified, what is it, you privacy thing out there? That's frustrating to me. I want to know. All right, here we go. Let's go to the quizzes for today and the Smoke Show. During the 2003 NFL Draft, which team made history by failing to submit their card before the 15-minute clock, now it's 8, expired, allowing 2 other teams to jump them in the first round?
I remember watching this. I'm trying to remember who exactly it was. And
I want to think it was one of the first two. I don't know for sure.
No, I think it was.
But one of those first two.
Yeah, I don't think it was the Panthers or the Jaguars. I think I had like it's a memory in my head. I don't think it was Detroit though. Like I don't.
Everybody in the chat saying Vikings, but one person said the Panthers. Let's say the Vikings. Greg.
Yeah, I'll go. That's where I was going to go, but especially if chat's, I'll say Vikings.
Ding! We continue the streak in one of the most classic moments in NFL draft history.
Chaotic.
That too. The Vikings missed their window. Number 7, while trying to finalize a trade with Baltimore before they could recover, the Jags and Panthers sprinted to the podium and turned in and submitted their picks. Minnesota eventually fell to number 9, where they selected Kevin Williams, pretty good defensive tackle, who was luckily who turned out to be a 6-time Pro Bowl player. So they got a pretty good player despite falling 2 spots back.
Yeah, that's a memory I had to reach back into the banks for. But yeah, I do remember that. And it worked out well for them. So there you go. Got that one right.
Number 2 quiz today on 365 Sports. And this is the Smoke Show. During the marathon 17-round NFL draft, 1971, Falcons coach Norm Van Brocklin, he was a pretty good player back in the day, got bored and decided to prank the league by drafting which Hollywood icon?
I mean, this is I wasn't watching the 1971 NFL draft, so I don't know this piece of history.
You couldn't. It was not on. That's the thing. So you couldn't,
I guess
even if
true.
you were.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, with all due respect to the others, Burt Reynolds was a football player at Florida State.
Yeah, he was. That would make sense.
So let's. You want to go with that one?
Yeah, the others don't really make much sense.
I mean, John Wayne's a big
1971.
boy.
So,
all right,
yeah.
let's say Burt Reynolds. John Wayne, damn it. In the final round, Norm Van Brocklin reportedly barked, "Do we want the roughest, toughest SOB in the draft?" before announcing the pick as John Wayne of Apache U. The league office even posted it before Commissioner Pete Rozelle disallowed it. Ironically, Wayne, from born Marion Morrison, played at USC. I didn't know that. Before a surfing injury ended his career and led him to acting.
Yeah, no idea. Like that's, I don't.
I learned something.
Have any memory of ever reading or coming across that little factoid there. So you learn something new every day.
There you go. Very nice, Andrew. Thank you. We were 1 for 1 today. Now let's get to the poll results. How many teams do you want in the college football playoff? And overwhelmingly, keep it as it is, beating the SEC's choice of 16, the Big Ten's plan of 24.
Yeah, I think that's still, Sankey, if he had his way, would have won 16. Petitti's obviously voiced that 24 is the way to go, and I guess there's more crossing over to his side. But for right now, I'd keep it as is. Keep it at 12. I like 12. I think we need to let it marinate a little bit. The little tweaks they made last year, I think, were good steps forward, but it's something that you can keep trying to perfect until you get it exactly the way that you want it. And I am intrigued by 16, though. Don't get me wrong. I mean, just the nice evenness of that, the lack of first-round buys. I also enjoy that part of it. I don't love the first-round buy for the top 4 seeds, especially when they're already the best teams.
Neither
and then
do they
get one
based
less
on
game,
results. Yeah.
But they also don't like them, so that's why I kind of like 16, because if you do 24, you're going to have, again, more buys. So to just have everybody play the same number of games and your benefit would be having home games on campus, I think 16 would be a really nice sweet spot. And it also wouldn't be, hey, here's the top 25 and one team not on it that does not get to get in after this list. So I think I'd go 16. If we have to change it and we need to keep tweaking it, I think I go 16, but I'm totally fine keeping it as is.
All right. I am too. And there are the results. And I saw a couple of national polls out, and it was pretty much the same. What gets damaged the most by a 24-team playoff? Basically 70%, the regular season drama or bowl game tradition.
Yeah, I think the player health fatigue is probably larger than we give it credit for, but we just don't really care, right? I do think we're reaching a point, and the NFL starting to push this button of like, how many games can you actually play before you're really messing with guys' health? Like, are 20 regular season games too many? We're about to find out. We're getting close to it. But yeah, I know that's not top of mind for many people, including myself. So yeah, I think the bowl games have been the most disrupted. The regular season still has drama. We saw that at the end of last year. Conference title games still have some meaning, although that's definitely lessening because now it doesn't matter who loses the SEC title game so much as like making the playoff. It does matter as far as seeding and a bye and all of that. But so there's still some there. But yeah, the bowl games, I feel like there's not really much other than for those who want to go and make it an enjoyable experience, they can. And for those that don't, yeah, for a lot of people, it's just not as big of a deal anymore. So yeah, I think bowl game tradition has certainly been damaged by the, or would be certainly just finished off by a 2014 playoff. I actually was answering that from what is the 12 team damage, but 2014, it would finish off the bowls for sure because you wouldn't have much, if any, teams that people would be interested in watching in the Bahamas Bowl, for example. Yeah. But it would definitely, regular season drama would be lessened as well and would be right behind that and would actually be my bigger concern. Be the regular season drama.
I picked regular season drama that you don't want to. I don't want to see games at the September, or I want them to be important. In the end, all games are, but so there we are with 68% with those first two. Thank you, Andrew Valade. Rez, appreciate it. Dialing up another great show. And, of course, also Garrett Ross, who was here and has been here for most of the day. Thanks to our sponsors. Thanks to you, the viewers. We appreciate your time. For Craig Smoak, I'm David Smoak. This is The Smoke Show on 365 Sports. We'll see you tomorrow.